Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m. and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 127 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam and that is Mel. We are just two broads talking about the wrestling we like and that we watch, and we will have a special guest joining us shortly.
We will. We are going to have a member of my local promotion now, my new favorite local promotion that you guys have been seeing people on, and
you have the chat reminding you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my dear God. It's sitting right here, you guys. I'm really sorry.
Thank you for the reminder.
Holy cow. I didn't even think about it. I'm really, really sorry. It's my bad.
It's all right. We got it.
Close one. Oh my God.
That reminds me, now that USVA guy is here, before I forget real quick, I found out a friend of mine is going to Capital Collision and it is going to be her first live show ever. She's never been before because she came here for college. She came to the States for college. And so she's a really big WWE fan. She knows a little bit about New Japan, mostly because of like her friends watch it. And she's familiar with some of it. But she said it's not far from her and tickets were like $25. And so she's going with a friend. And then she found out that because they just announced Mercedes this week or last week that she's going to be there. So she's super excited about that. And so I told her, I was like, I know somebody who will be at that show. I was like, they do all the cool merch stuff. So she's super excited about that. Her first wrestling show ever. I was like, it's been a while since I've been to New Japan shows. I was like, they're always fun, but I was like, I've not been to one like this where they bring in like a lot of the really big wrestlers that obviously, like I got Liger, so I mean that is huge. But we didn't get like this type where it's like I think she's getting like Haramu. I think that they've already announced like 4 matches. It's like Zack Sabre Jr. is wrestling Teton, which that alone is worth the price of admission. And then she's getting I think Naito I think is on that card. She's getting
nice.
Filthy.
She's getting an awesome card.
Yeah, really she's getting Filthy Tom. She's getting West Coast Wrecking Crew. I think she's getting Trisha Dora. Like, I was like, you were gonna be spoiled.
That's your first good ever. Because I have overly spoiled by going to so many of these things. Like, I mean, I've been to 3 of the big ones, like the Madison Square ROH, the 2 Forbidden Doors. Like, so I've had like, I forgot. Like, I also got like really spoiled about it and was like, because the guy we were sitting in front of the night we went to Collision when Naito came out that night, he lost it. He was like, and we were like, oh man, we are so spoiled. We've seen him so many times that we didn't even think about all the people in America who haven't had a chance yet. And it's been since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we were like so happy that guy was so happy. I mean, he lost it. He went mental like one of the women in freaking G1 or something, like Cortana. I mean, he just mental. It was so fantastic. Cool. It was such a fun moment.
That's kind of like, it reminds me of when at Revolution this year, like because we got Osprey like with this spurt, and like so some of the like I heard a guy behind it was behind us. Nikki probably remembers. I can't remember if it was when we were on the way into the venue or if it was the people sitting behind us, and they were like, I've heard all these good things about Will Ospreay. I don't know anything about him because they don't watch New Japan, and he was like, so I'm ready to see like what it is that like people keep talking about. And he was like, because I've never seen Will Ospreay before, and I don't know. And so, and then he out here gave us like a match of the year contender with Takeshita. So the match was so good. Like I knew going into it, I was like on paper, like this match is going to be great, but then like it ended up being. That's probably one of the best matches I've ever seen live. And then Takesha's been killing it in New Japan. I mean, I'm a little behind on G1. I think we haven't watched. I think the last 2 nights, I think, is where we're.
Okay.
I think that's how.
I am only one. See, I would have been one day behind, but I there was yesterday I didn't get caught up with, and then there was today. So by tomorrow I'm going to be way behind. But I was caught up for 5 seconds. Okay.
I think the last match we saw was it Naito? Did Naito main event like 3 shows ago? Was it Naito? I think that was the main event that I think was. I think
2
that's
nights ago.
That's the last match we saw was the Naito main event. We're at the point now where we're kind of skipping matches. We're just watching matches of we were skipping all the undercard stuff.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm not going to sit here.
We've kind of started skipping to watching matches we want to see, like Shingo, Zach.
Yep. I mean, I watch, but I don't need to watch Evil and Sonata for the 800th time. I really don't.
I think Kira, if we ended up skipping that one or we let that play because I was working
let it play.
I think I was working on an article or something, and I think that's why we let it play. The USVA guy, every time I see Goto, I think of you. Because he said, prepare for Goto and Takeshita versus Takeshita. It's amazing. Yeah, because he said that Goto was good when he was rooting for Goto last week. So now every time I watch a Goto match, that's which Goto is great. I love him. So this is
right.
Yeah. Brad says this is the first year I haven't watched every match on the card. I'm skipping all the undercard matches just for just the G1 matches. Makes the show go by much faster. Yeah, and it's hard because like I know those undercard matches are great, but there's 9 million other things going on, and like we've been watching the Olympics on top of that, and like I've been having to write a lot, and so it's just we're trying to get caught up on stuff. There's so much going on, and then. I will go back to this real quick because yes, he said USVA guy said to have her hit him up and he will hook her up some cool stuff. I will definitely tell her that. And then Nikki said she dreamed she was an hour late to the chat because she overslept and she didn't want to tell people why. So I was just like, I'll just join and say hi all. And she said it was a solid plan for Dream Nikki.
Good job. We always believed in you.
Yes. And Brad said that he is watching us and Stardom. So we appreciate that multitasking and that we're part of your multitasking.
Yeah, there's a lot of tournaments going on, and
yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot.
Cool. Okay. So we should get our guests in here.
We should.
We don't want to leave them waiting. Well,
no, we don't.
I mean him waiting. Let me get this out. So I met Thee Spyder at the most recent event that you guys have heard me talk about at my old space, the Knights of Columbus, and we decided that we wanted to have a meetup. And he also had a short film that's out right now it's called oh my gosh, I'm getting it wrong now.
The false finish of the spider.
Of Thee Spyder. Make sure you say it right.
Yes,
gotta put the emphasis on it. And if you guys were watching when Cat Daddy Paul Bowser was on, he's the one who even turned us on to the film in the first place. So.
Yes, he did. And
I hope you got a chance to watch it.
Me and Nikki watched it a couple of days ago, and it was really great. And we've tweeted it from Powerbombshells several times. I've tweeted it. We'll send it out again today to make sure that you get it. And we'll probably put it out throughout the week too. We know things get busy, so we'll put it out.
So we would like to introduce him to the studio. Bring this up right now. Welcome to the show.
Hello there.
How's it going?
It's going good. Let's start off. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I was watching when Paul Bowser was on. I really super appreciate that he mentioned the film and just mentioned me in general. There's this little stigma that I've had for the last say 3, almost 4 years, where when I was a rookie, I won a title very quickly. And I carried that title around with me everywhere so that I could promote for the company I was working for and also be a good ambassador for wrestling. Kind of worked the wrong way with some of the other workers, didn't endure me to them. So I don't really get to do a lot of promos. I don't really get to do a lot of interviews and things, but I love doing them. So I appreciate you guys having me on here. But I will say one thing. Right now, you're getting J.R. Blanton. You're getting the man behind the Spider.
Fair enough.
Thee Spyder will be on here later because he's a lot to deal with, and I don't like to be around when he's here, if that makes any sense. We're not really simpatico.
I mean, from the film, it's pretty obvious that you have a little bit of trouble staying still. So.
Oh yeah, ADHD, ADD kid. That's why I'm so valued at my actual shoot job, is because while everybody else can get maybe 5 things done, I'm getting 15 to 20.
Being married to someone with the similar, I don't want to say ailment. It's not right. I can empathize greatly because of my family and myself. But what I liked about the film myself was that it really spoke to me right now. Like, it was something that it was like it, and I think it's something that a lot of people deal with, a lot of the different issues that were brought up in it. And so, and we often on here, we talk about the way that our wrestling journeys are, whether it's like the people that come on our show or the people like Sam and I, or the folks that join us in the chat. They're so gracious with their time and join us and ask us questions and engage with us, which we love you guys. Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Wrestling is a community at the end of the day. And so it's like, we just really, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was great. And Sam, questions.
Yeah, so tell, for the people who may not have gotten a chance to watch the documentary yet, can you give us a little bit of a background of how you got into wrestling and why that the documentary was even made in the first place?
That in and of itself is a very crazy story, but I'll start with explaining the documentary. It basically is just a simple story about a man who had everything and lost all of it with just the blink of an eye. And the story was really just supposed to be about the House of Truth. The director's name is Jacob Wilkins, and he also was the producer of the film. He had some help. There were some people that helped him along the way, but it was just supposed to be a student film. It wasn't supposed to be anything that got the kind of attention that it has. Mm-hmm. But I think people really didn't understand his vision. I didn't even understand his vision. So long story short, I've been wrestling for about 3 years, almost 4 years now. And I've had a couple of injuries that have kept me on the sidelines. And one specific one was with somebody that I'm hoping will be joining us today, a fellow by the name of Jamie Eternal. We had an explosive feud over the summer of 2023. Had a bunch of matches together. We pretty much stole the show every time we went out there. The fans loved our matches. They were very well received. And I learned a lot from him, which is saying something, because a lot of the rookies, they come out and they kind of feel like, oh, I already know what I'm doing. They don't realize you really need to gravitate towards these vets and listen to what they say. Be a sponge, because they have experience and they've seen things and they've been on the road and they've traveled and they've had opponents that just that little bit of information that they're, gracious enough to give you, you take that and you run with it. You try to put it into practice.
Right.
And because of my feud with him, I not only grew as a wrestler, but I feel like I grew as a character. And he really kind of pointed me in the right way on how to advance and evolve my character, which if you see my character last year and you see him now, it's completely different. It's like the other guy was a jerk. The guy that's out there now is actually tolerable.
That's not growth.
Yeah, right. Would you feel more comfortable bringing him in right now, or should we wait for Thee Spyder to show his self before he comes on?
We'll give him a little bit of time because he's wound up right now, and he's not going to be able to talk about the documentary. He was there for it, but he wasn't really there for it. So.
Just making sure. I just want to make sure that we are doing things in the proper order here, because
oh yeah,
we
let him go on last.
We don't care.
Let him go on last.
Yeah.
Got it.
Perfect.
Well, just like the promoters and the bookers are starting to learn, just let him go on last.
There you go. Exactly.
So,
and we see in the documentary that you were training, or you've been training at, I think it was House of Truth with Truth Martini. So
yes.
How did that come about? And what do you have to say about the school and what you've learned there?
Well, I was originally homeless. After my divorce, I literally lost everything. I can't go into the details because there are still legal things going on, custody battle. So can't really say anything too detailed because I don't want it to be used against me, to be truthful. But I lost everything, had nowhere to go. Nobody would take me in. So I literally had to sleep in the streets. Some of this isn't mentioned in the documentary. There was a long period of time where I was eating out of dumpsters, living in alleyways, trying to survive in parks and being thrown out by the cops because I was loitering, even though I had nowhere to go. So I just got to the point where I knew something in my life needed to change. And it's not easy to talk about, but I turned suicidal and I wanted to die. And I had a moment where I was literally considering doing it, and I was right there with the option to. And I just happened to have one of those, some people will call it a miracle, but to me, it was a life-saving moment where my son called me and just gave me this really long, detailed message about how much him and his brothers and his sister love me, and they're rooting for me, and they're there for me and everything. And it really just kind of changed everything about me. Yeah. And I said to myself, you know what, I've got to make a change. I can't just be defeated and not show my kids that they can overcome things. Right. So I just started working really hard. It was COVID, so I couldn't do much in terms of money and jobs. I mean, I literally lost everything and had no way to earn any of it back. But eventually I started looking for wrestling schools, and that was when I found House of Truth. I went in and I talked to Martin, and he was so amazing to speak to, and he's so positive. And he just said to me, you know, you can do anything in wrestling if you're really dedicated and you really believe in yourself. I put that into practice, and I graduated in August of 2021, and I won my first title by November.
Wow.
I joined Detroit Punk with Chuck Stein and Sean Lawhorn. We had the belts for about 8 months, and then I re-injured my shoulder, which I injured in training when a guy pulled my arm out of socket.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I sat on the shelf. No, I sat on the shelf for about 8 months, but I still kept doing shows out of state in Kentucky for my mentor, Scott Diamond, because he would put me in matches where I literally wasn't doing anything. So I could still be there and not feel like a total imbecile for not contributing a whole lot.
Experience that way, though. You're like, that helps you get experience around being around it is just as important. You get to see the whole picture. Like, not everyone sees the whole picture. It does.
It really does. And not just that, but you get to be backstage and you get to see styles of wrestling that you don't really see in other places. For example, up here in Michigan, it's, and I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, but a lot of wrestlers up here have a very spot-heavy presence, where when they're in the ring, there's a lot going on constantly. Sure. I'm more of a old school Southern wrestler where my matches are very storytelling. There's not a lot of, you know, jumping around and flips and spot. Doesn't work that way with my matches for the most part. I like to tell stories. I'm known for my selling, because when I'm in the ring, it looks like I'm literally being killed every match. So, well, you
are a small guy, I'm using air quotes because I using those terms, but I mean, so there are the big giant people. I mean, it seems like, oh my God, he's going to kill that guy. I mean, I've seen, I've seen you in, that was my third show. So it was the anniversary show, the Livonia show, or the Richmond Ruckus show, and the Livonia show. So I got to see, and you got over big in Richmond. People loved you. They love that America stuff around here. It's all happy.
Yeah, just to peel the curtain back a little bit, because I really don't like talking about backstage stuff. But this is an interview, and you're talking to me, not the character right now. Sure. I'm a little guy. I'm 135 pounds. I had colon cancer. I now have ulcerative colitis. So my body doesn't allow me to retain muscle and weight. So I can't really get much bigger than I was. But I have sent you guys pictures of what I used to look like. And it's a drastic difference.
That one. I do have that one. I did not get the other ones in here, but I did get that.
I've had people tell me that this photo is Photoshopped, and I guarantee you that it's not.
That's not the one.
That's not the one.
Hey, I'll take some of that muscle. If you want to give me some of that muscle, I'll take it.
I'll take
a quarter of that muscle.
Gabe Kid doesn't need it. It's fine.
I'm not even sure how that got in there. That one's like completely.
He can donate a little of that muscle, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, and he'll be fine. He won't even miss it.
But, being a smaller guy, I learned in training very quickly, and this is the brilliance and the genius of Truth Martini. Being a smaller guy, it's not believable for me to be getting in the ring and slamming guys almost twice my size. It makes no sense storytelling-wise. So I had to figure out ways to stand out and be a character so that even though I'm going to be the guy in the ring getting his ass kicked the entire time, I have to be able to convey that to the fans and get them on my side. So I kind of specialize in that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been really beneficial, and especially I guess once we get to when we talk about the feud, and can I imagine with that feud that you were just talking about that you had last summer, I'm sure that was something that you were able to utilize well. Get
that's what I'm trying to bring back to. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to bring back to is I learned a lot from Scott Diamond going out of state while I was hurt. And he's very good because, this guy has wrestled and worked with the biggest names in the history. There he is. There he is.
Get a little quick comparison for y'all there.
I miss that guy.
Hey, as someone who, again, I can empathize with your situation. That's part of the reason that it really spoke to me, because some of the things that you're dealing with are things that I personally have. Gastrointestinal history bull crap, and Sam and I have talked about her sister, and many of us have, we turn to wrestling to help us out and make us feel better and do better things, and like you said, and so it's you miss him, but really it sounds to me like you like the guy that you are now too. So
oh, absolutely. It's been a hard road to.
It's a literal pain in the ass, but we get through it somehow. And that was going to be my question to you. Actually, is tackling issues like suicide, and trigger warning if anybody is going to feel uncomfortable with us talking about these kinds of things. Yes. We are not going to be offended if you need to step away. I totally understand that's something that people can't deal with, and that's totally fine, because we're going to have a quick minute about it, but it is in the film, and it is something that I want to address, because talking about suicide is hard, and that's a very vulnerable place that you put yourself in when you talked about not just your chronic illness and all of those things. That's particularly sensitive material, but to talk about the darkness and the things that go along with suicide and all of this. I have a friend who now is a certified specialist. He works in suicide prevention. We have the brewery that sponsored the event here in Richmond. They have a suicide walk every year now because it's affected their family. What made you say, okay, I'm just going to tear the whole thing off and just bare my soul to the whole world? Because that's dark stuff, and it's tough to talk about.
Well, it really does go back to that feud with Jamie Eternal, because before that feud, when I stopped going out of town, it was Christmas time of 2022. So 2023 hadn't even started yet. And there were two people that were there for me while I was living in my car, excuse me. And while I was dealing with, having money from my job and working my ass off, but it constantly going to paying for things where I couldn't save money. I had to constantly fix my credit so I could get out of my car. And Jamie Eternal was there for me as a person. He was there for me, and he really became my best friend, along with Davis and Sarai. They were there for me in a way that I can never express to people what they did for me to keep me from having those suicidal thoughts. Because when it first started and I lost everything, you got to bear in mind, I went to work one day an hour away. My phone suddenly stopped working. And then I tried getting a hold of my ex-wife, and I couldn't get a hold of her. And I had no way of knowing how to get back to my house an hour away. So it took me 3 hours to get home. And then when I got home, I found out everything was taken from me. Everything. I had nothing. I had nowhere to go that night. So the chronic disease, having been through cancer, still dealing with ulcerative colitis, which technically is a form of cancer. If you don't keep it under control, it will become cancerous. Mm-hmm. And people don't understand a lot of times, seeing me in the ring, you'll see me hold my stomach. That's not selling. That's me literally in there suffering, trying to get through a match, because it's not easy to work with intestinal issues and get slammed around and have people jump on you and things.
Yeah, and that actually answered one of the questions I was going to ask. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is wrestling with ulcerative colitis? I can only imagine what that is, and you basically
it's constant pain.
Yeah,
it's constant pain. There's no way to describe it. I mean, wrestling, you're going to be in pain. What we do is a very physical thing. I understand. It's just, wrestling is a very physical thing. And even me, somebody who's been watching wrestling for over 40 years, who's literally been a fan since a baby, I even was surprised at how physical it is when you get in the ring, how much of a toll it takes on your body. And to deal with that and to deal with the stomach issues, it's a level of misery I can't even express. But again, I go back to having Jamie Eternal, having Davison Sarai, and them building me up and telling me, you're going to get through this, you're going to get through this. And then they actually brought me into their group when I came back and had my return. But unfortunately, the company that was running at that time went under. There was a lot of issues. They stopped running shows. And I started feeling like I need to retire. The pain's not worth it. I feel like I have a great character and I'm great with the fans, but nobody wants to use me. And Jamie reached out to me and he's like, hey, you know what? If you really want to work, you can work with me over the summer. And I said, great, that'll be awesome. And it was actually working with him where I won my first singles title. And he really helped me grow, not just as a person and a performer, but just spiritually and getting in touch with myself and knowing who I am. Same with Davison Sarai, helping me break those, behavioral patterns and stop being so pessimistic, because that's who I turned into after 22 years of a marriage and it just falling apart one night and you not even knowing about it. That breaks a lot of people. And Truth Martini even says that in the documentary. A lot of people are broken after what happened to me. And again, the documentary covers a smidge of what I went through. It's amazing that I got to where I am. So I'm using the platform I have now to not just perform, but to show people out there, watch the documentary, give it a chance to kind of soak in and realize that everybody has a path and your path happens the way it happens, because I personally feel like it was meant to happen that way. If it wasn't meant to happen that way, it would have happened a different way.
Sure. Absolutely. Definitely. And I do have a comment over here from Brad, who says, as a longtime ROH fan who hated Truth for the right reasons as a heel, I'm happy to see he's still in the industry in some form.
Truth Martini has done things for me that I'm not going to go into because they're personal, but the man literally, just like my son, saved my life. And Martin believed in me when no one else really did. And after my injury that I had, and I had that feud with Jamie Eternal, we had a last man standing match in October of last year. And we had a spot where he tombstoned me through a table. And that was the end of the match. But what a lot of people didn't know was I was knocked unconscious because the table, instead of breaking, the table just the legs buckled and my head went right into the ground from I think 10 feet up in the air. So I was knocked out, had to be evacuated on a gurney with an ambulance, had a concussion. But what I didn't realize was that I also broke my back. And I didn't even know that until April of this year when my back went out and I went to the doctors and they x-rayed my spine. And he was like, so how long has your back been broken? And I'm like, my what? He said, how long has your back been broken? And I'm like, my back is broken? He goes, you didn't know that? I'm like, does this look like the face of somebody in the know? And he's like, yeah, so your back is broken right here. And that's, what's giving you all this pain. And I'm like, so I've been working since January in the ring, because I was going through the new class that started in January every day, 4 days a week, working with these guys, doing everything they were doing, taking the bumps. Had no idea my back was broken.
Oh my God.
idea.
That's incredible.
But going through that, that's why I started going back to House of Truth, is because after the injury, they cleared me for January 1st to get back in the ring and start training again. So I went back to House of Truth and I really wanted to work on myself. But what I realized was how much I loved working with the new guys and help training them and perfect their characters. Because now some of those guys are some of my best friends. Alex Lynch, Alec Rutledge, Tommy Rinks, just so many guys. Joseph Antonio Guerrero, those are some of my best friends now. And I helped a lot of those guys in their development. So you really develop a bond with these guys, not just the ones that you work with, but the ones you meet in the training, Because we all have issues. We all have lives. Mine, unfortunately, was a really terrible one, but I'm hoping that people can learn from what I went through and say, hey, this guy's one of the weakest guys on the planet. If he can make it, I can.
Absolutely. That's an excellent message. I mean, and you have so many of them, and it's just in so many forms. Like you talked, you were speaking of earlier about, being open about, being suicidal, and then just having all these things, and wrestling with ulcerative colitis, which I can only, again, I know you said it's hard to describe, and I can't even imagine. And then you just have, and then just the sheer will and force of just life knocking you down and you coming back and doing that. And so all of that together, I think, is an incredible story. And I think that you using wrestling as an outlet as an outlet, but also to inform, a platform to inform people, I think that's incredible. And I think Mel and I talk about a lot about how wrestling reflects real life, and it is something that we see all the time, and where I'm so glad that you're here to share your story with us, because I think it's incredible, and we want our viewers and anybody else who comes across this to know about this, because I think it's incredible what you're doing. And so thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you for letting me actually speak about it. This is the first interview that I've done about the documentary. And something that some people don't know about the documentary is that when it debuted at the Washtenaw Film Festival, there were 56 or 60 different documentaries and movies and animations that played that night. And the false finish of Thee Spyder was nominated for 3 awards and won all 3.
That's incredible.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yes, we won for the film.
Both of you.
Thank
you
you.
Both deserve a lot of That's fantastic.
I was so happy for Jake, because he really deserves it. He took this story that, it's sad, but it's also uplifting because of what I've come back from. But the way he filmed it and the music he uses, everything about it is just so much better than you would expect from somebody who just graduated from film school. Right. And we were nominated for Best Picture for Critics' Choice, which we won. We were nominated for Best Documentary Critics' Choice, which we won. And that night we won the Audience Choice for the best film that was shown.
Wow. That's incredible.
I love it.
So it's now been in 2 film festivals, and it only got 3rd place at the Cannes Film Festival. But as far as I understand, Jake has it entered into some other ones that he'll be announcing soon.
Oh, that's great. The more people that can hear the story, I think is great. And I think that, and obviously going into it, just hearing the title, The False Finish of Thee Spyder, but then after, it definitely gets your interest, but then watching it and then seeing the title pop up again, I think it was just perfect the way that I think it's the perfect title for it. And I think especially once you go through the, even that small story, I mean, like you said, it's just a smidge of what happened to you, but it covers a lot. And I think that's just, it's really fitting. And again, as we said, we have posted the link, but after our podcast is over, go to Thee Spyder's YouTube page and make sure that you watch it, or you can even just search, you can put in your search, The False Finish of Thee Spyder, and make sure you spell it with a Y and 2 E's, but
2
definitely
E's on
go check it out.
The Y and Spider. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 11 minutes long. It doesn't take long to get through it. And the truth is, Martin broke me. Truth Martini, he broke me. He really did.
I saw.
No, that's the thing about this film. I did not know that they interviewed Martin about me. Man. I had no idea, because Martin was the one that brought me up. And when he brought me up, he said things about me that weren't included in the documentary. And I'm not going to go into them now, because it's not something that, I should be peeling the curtain back about.
Of course.
But he said some positive things about me that broke me and really made me cry, because I never knew how Martin really felt about me. Because remember, I won my first title 3 months out of training. So I was wrestling so much, I wasn't going back to the House of Truth. And that's very vital. When you graduate wrestling school, you don't stop going. You keep going. For anybody watching this who's a worker, go to the school, help the new guys. They need to learn by working with you.
I love that. I mean, that's
excellent advice.
That's
our rite of passage.
Indie wrestling,
right?
So.
Yes, it's a rite of passage. Once you're a vet and you've graduated, you go to the shows and you help out. You make yourself seen. You introduce yourself to everybody. You don't just go up there and watch the show. You try to be helpful, be supportive. Same thing with the wrestling school. You graduate, you don't stop going. Where none of us will ever be a perfect wrestler. Not even Ric Flair or Shawn Michaels or Kurt Angle were perfect wrestlers. There's always something you can learn. There are new moves you can learn. There are things you can learn about your character, promo skills. You can learn how to do filming, refereeing. There's all kinds of things you can contribute to. It doesn't stop once you graduate.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely
Preach.
not.
And I mean, that's just the truth. You know, going back, there's a lot of guys like me.
Right. I couldn't. I mean, you nailed it on every level. And I think what's interesting is, and I talked to some people around the wrestling community here, and some of the schools here, the fact that they it sounds like you have good mentors, which means that like the people in those schools, they're not just like, they're teaching you about life, not just about wrestling, and that's good. And the fact that but I mean, a lot of our like favorite, Sam is a ginormous Motor City fan. And so obviously having them be associated, I've heard nothing but good things about them doing it. It's like, I remember like Bowser said, they never big time you. It's like, if Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin can come around wrestling schools and work with everybody and not be jerks, so can everyone else. And I just think, and like Rhino, I know is coming around the program coming up, but he's another person that I see everywhere. Like every wrestling show basically I've ever been to, Rhino has been at. Like he's just been there, just helping, watching, doing whatever. I'm like, this guy is like kind of amazing. He's like, I mean, he wrestles on the big shows and when they do everything, but
I was guilty of it too. You know, when I had my injuries, I didn't go back to the House of Truth, and I really should have, because it would have helped me. And that's where I actually met Jake. He was there the first day of class to film, for the House of Truth. But then we do this thing where the first day of class, everybody introduces themselves, and I was the last one. And I gave him a little bit of advice from my own personal experiences, which a lot of other guys don't really do. And afterwards, Jake came to me. He's like, "Wow, man! Like, I'd really like to, interview you and have you tell your story." And that was how everything happened. He literally interviewed me, just me and him talking. And afterwards, he messaged me the next day, and he's like, "You know what? I want to pivot, because if I do a documentary about House of Truth, it could be an hour long, and I don't have an hour to film." Sure. And he's like, "I'd rather do it about you." So when he first started talking about it, I was optimistic. But I was also like, I'm a nothing, nobody. No one knows who I am. I don't think anything's going to come of it. But the response that the film has gotten, I think, is more because of the message that it tells. I'm just a tiny little guy, but I never gave up on my dreams. And once I had a chance to actually chase those dreams, I took advantage of it, no matter what stood in my way. And anybody can do that in their life. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Even if you say you have no dreams, find that dream and go after it, because age is not a limitation with every dream. Just like wrestling. Absolutely. I'm 44 years old, but I still want to do this for at least another 10 years because I love it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I like about City is that there are not a lot of like very few high spots. There's a lot of wrestling at City Championship Wrestling, and I appreciate that. There's mostly in-ring stuff, and when it's out of the ring, it seems to be used very specifically to tell the stories that are going on with these specific. I mean, that's one of the things I really appreciate about the promotion, is that it's even in that way. Like, it's just got a good. I like Sam and I, especially, but me more than her, maybe even, is I'm a little purist. I mean, I love in ring. Hardcore, like storytelling. I was in the building for Omega Okada 2 or Ospreay 2. It was like remarkable. Like, you just can't. But even like, it's amazing because I can see that, but I can see something go on like with the Switch at the anniversary show and get just as excited. And I think that's what's fun about wrestling too.
Well, City Championship Wrestling. There's 3 promotions right now I'm working for pretty much exclusively. CCW, For Us Wrestling, and Superstar Championship Wrestling. Okay. And the reason I'm working for those 3 companies is because those are the companies that I feel I can tell the best stories at. And when I go and I tell a story, 99% of the time you're seeing me get my ass kicked. Oh, sorry, my phone dropped. So I'm usually getting my ass kicked in these matches. And those companies believe in me because they see the way the fans gravitate to me. It doesn't matter where I go, the fans love me. And the reason that they love me is because I'm one of them. I'm just like them. I'm no different. I'm that guy who you can literally pluck out of the audience, train him, put him in the ring, and watch his progression and see him become great because he loves what he does and he won't settle for anything less. So if you have somebody like me that's passionate and brings fans in, and I'm sorry, I put asses in seats. I do. People come to see me. And when you have somebody like that, you want to feature them. And that's what those three companies right now are doing, is they're featuring me. And they're featuring me in a way where the fans get to be more interactive with me. And I try to be interactive.
Jamie's doing hand puppets now, so I just...
Oh, bring him on. Bring him on. Bring that clown on.
So,
he's like my favorite person in the world next to my kids.
I got that's a welcome to the show, Jamie Eternal. Another
there he is.
Fine member of the House of Truth. Oh.
No, actually, I was not from House of Truth. I trained with Dan Severn.
Oh, even better.
Sounds like we're getting a little feedback. Does somebody have this on in the background, maybe? Is that where we're hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
I don't have anything on.
Yeah, it's where we're getting some very, I don't know, maybe it's just on my end, but we're getting some very.
No, I hear it too.
Okay.
It's kind of like we're in a tunnel.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right. I mean, pop you out. And pop
Every time Jamie Eternal is involved, there's chaos.
Apparently. Hang on, I'm going to remove you and bring you back in real quick.
We was fine till that sucker got involved.
That's it. That's all we had for you. Okay.
I love that guy.
All right.
Yeah, it
Sounds like it's probably we're just getting feedback.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like we're getting feedback from somewhere.
Yeah, there's some feedback coming from your end, homie. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys fine.
That's better. Oh.
Weird.
It's you must have two streams open. You either have like a microphone or your microphone turned up to left, or your this thing.
Did that change it?
Yes, it sounds like it. Well, no, there it is. Back.
Oh,
see, this guy comes on and he turns this into a horror movie.
Yeah, it does sound like a horror movie. We're running through the tunnels.
Horror movies are his specialty too.
See, perfect.
Whatever you're holding, keep holding it.
I think
turn the mic off.
When you turn your mic off, you said, so you have to like turn it on to talk and then turn it off while we're. That's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be really fun for the internet.
We'll get through it. It's fine. It's not a problem.
we have had way worse catastrophes.
It's fine because when Thee Spyder actually comes on, he won't get a chance to talk anyway.
There we go.
There you go. You can just make hand puppets for everyone to see because they were cracking me up. So I did not get. I will share those pictures on the Powerbombshells Instagram, but you did. You did send me some pictures of you guys in the ring, and they were great. And I was not able to get them to upload, but I will share them on our Insta because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's one thing that you'll learn as a professional wrestler. It usually doesn't take long, but there are certain people you just have a natural chemistry in the ring with. Mm-hmm. So whenever this guy and I have a match together, it's always dynamite. And the one that we just did, I think that's the highest he's ever gotten me on a choke slam. I literally could have just reached up and pulled that women's title belt down and won the women's title myself.
Which promotion was that?
That was For Us Wrestling. It was last weekend.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check out the other promotions because.
And the great thing about that match is that it was a Monsters Ball, and somebody was unable to make it because of travel issues. And when I heard that somebody dropped out of that match, I went right up to Goldman and I was like, "Bro, put me in that match." And he's like, "You want to go in the match?" I was like, "Hello, Thee Spyder and Jamie Eternal. Who doesn't want to see that?" He goes, "Okay." So just the chance to be in the ring with him again was something just could not be turned down.
That's very cool. So you said you started working together last summer. Is that what you said? That's when you two began working with each other?
Yeah, for Superstar Championship Wrestling, which is typically out of Owasso. And, he knows the promoter. I met the promoter. We did some work together. My first match there was against Dean Hendricks, who he graduated with me. And I'm happy to see that Dean is still going forward. We had 19 guys in our class in 2021, and only 2 of us are still actively working.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So to see Dean was great. Get to wrestle him was even better. Because when we trained, him and we got paired up against each other because we were about the same size. Mm-hmm. So we worked with each other a lot. And actually, Jamie was the one who put that match together for us and told us we were going to be facing each other. And we went out there and we did. I don't think we stole the show per se, but we definitely put on a banger. And then the next time I went there, it was, okay, now you're wrestling Jamie Eternal. And I was like, I'm what? I'm what? Like at work, I thought he was going to help me with promos. You mean this guy's going to be slamming me around? Yeah. But it's probably one of the best things that ever happened in my career because I learned more from him and working with him and being on the road. This guy and we've been to every corner of Michigan together. So to be able to sponge off of him and learn and experience things through his eyes, what he has seen, where he has been, the people he has wrestled, just everything about wrestling psychology. I couldn't have had somebody better to train me in that way and help me evolve my character. Because again, the character I was a year ago and the character I am now, it's almost night and day.
Right. Jamie, what do you have to say when you hear somebody praise you like that and talk about how you have helped them in that way?
Well, I appreciate it a lot. I don't do it for the praise. I do it because I want to help people, I think with Spyder here, I saw something in him that others weren't really seeing too much, when he got done training, started getting bookings, like he was kind of given the short end of the stick, but I saw a determination in him that others didn't see. And I'm like, he just needs a little help. He just needs a little boost. So I got him up there in Owasso and, like he said, I'm pretty tight with the promoter, so he kind of let me do what I wanted to do, and I brought in Spyder, and we had the match with Hendricks, but then after that I'm like, we got to work a feud together, and I'm going to teach him how to, you only learn so much at wrestling school, so it was kind of like teach him how to put matches together better and understand psychology a little better, because you learn more on the road, really. Of course. Like, if we were all perfect out of training, then we'd all be in WWE, right? Or AEW.
Right, of course. Right.
I have almost 20 years of knowledge to give to people. I wanted to give it to him because he deserves it, and people weren't giving him a shot. He's, gotten a lot more attention since, this and the documentary, obviously. Like the documentary blew up for him. But it's thanks for the good praise, buddy. I appreciate it.
The truth is the truth. He's a very humble guy. Doug's a very humble guy. He doesn't. You got to understand, there are a lot of pros out there that they'll give you advice, but they won't actually take you under their wing and show you what they mean. And physically, because I'm a hands-on learner. I've always been that way. If you tell me how to do something, it's going to look half put together. But if you show me how to do something, I'll put it together right and faster than just about anybody you know. Right. I have a very strong dedication to my work ethic, whether that's my shoot job or in the ring. I want to be the best at everything. And I feel like the only person who saw that really, other than Davis and Sarai, who's like my big sister, is Jamie Eternal.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that's the person. Like you said, you always have that there's some people that you just have that instant chemistry, and I think it's the chemistry, and then that he was open enough to share that knowledge with you, and it sounds like it's been hugely beneficial, and actually for both of you, which is incredible that he can give back, and that you can take that information and absorb it and apply it, and then for you to turn around and do the same thing when you go back to the school or any people that you work with in the future, which is incredible to see.
Well, that's
I've formed a really strong bond with this new crop of guys that have just coming out of House of Truth, and like I said, they're some of my best friends now. We've been traveling together. I've been, giving them advice, showing them through matches, how to progress and, even to evolve their characters and to really understand storytelling. Because again, I don't try to put people down by saying I'm not into the, heavy spot matches. Mm-hmm. I'm into storytelling. That's why I got into wrestling, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s where it was all about, the storytelling and how it meant something and how you hated the bad guys because they made you hate them through the storytelling. Mm-hmm. So I gravitate more towards that. And Jamie Eternal is one of the best storytellers out there. It's a damn shame this guy's never been to WWE. It's honestly a travesty. And I'm not saying that because he's my best friend. I'm just saying from working with him. Stop shaking your head, asshole. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but
that's okay.
The guy did more for me than most people go out there and do for the new guys. And it not just meant a lot to me, but it's something that I feel you should pay forward. You should really help those newer guys, because ultimately when he retires, when I retire, because we're about the same age, when we both retire, we still want to watch wrestling. Right. So we want to get other guys to be good at it. We don't want you to suck. We want you to be great. Entertain us.
Exactly. See, that is a great perspective.
We are with you 100% here.
I need to train you now so that you're entertaining when I retire. That's
exactly. I've always said that. That was like my big problem with a lot of pro sports is things like the NBA. They just skip the under. Like you can't skip the learning portion. People who didn't. You can always tell somebody on a TV who didn't do the indies. And I'm not even going to get into like brands or any of that stuff. I just think everyone sitting here can say with certainty that someone who just walked in a ring and didn't do the indie circuit, and it's like they're really pretty or they're really huge or they're really like they got lucky and they are charismatic or whatever. Whatever it is, exactly.
It's really a thing of if you've worked on the indie scene, you know how to tell a story. If you're somebody that doesn't know how to tell a story, it shows, and you lose the fans, you lose the crowd, and they're not going to have or give you the reactions that you want because you're not telling the story the proper way. You're losing them either because you don't know how to control the crowd, or just because you're not involving them.
Right, definitely.
All right. We need to meet. I think we need to meet the Spyder. Thee Spyder. What do you think?
That guy, really? You seriously want to meet that guy?
It's up to you. You were the one that said you couldn't meet him.
All right, you can meet him. I'll go get him. I'm just warning you, he's a lot to deal with.
Okay, everybody get ready. And I gotta say, for me, Spyder is great with the kids. I love it. He is fan freak. I love it. The kids at the brewery, they're younger, and they fell in love with wrestling at that Richmond show.
I bet.
And he was one of the people that was like, but he is so great. You see him like. He said it in the film, but I've seen that actually happening. The kids following him around. They love him, and he's so great. He always has time for every single kid. Like, that's hard.
Cool. It is.
He just worked a wrestling show. Right. And I watched him do it because I was there for like the whole thing at Richmond because I was part of the vendor thing. So I kind of got to see the whole setup, and it was like, oh yeah. Like you see the inner workings of these things. So it's very impressive. You guys keep doing what you're doing because making Michigan wrestling stronger, and that's great for me as a fan.
Definitely. Yes. And as we always talk about, especially what we've talked about the last few weeks, like indie wrestling is the lifeblood of the wrestling business. And yes, of course, it's great to go see these big companies when they come to town, but like support your local indies because that's where, that's where wrestling is. It's where it thrives, and it helps your community, and you're putting money into your community, you're putting money into the local wrestling. We know that wrestlers don't make a lot of money, especially on the indie scene, so you got to go out there and support them. If you're able to even go a step further and get merch and things like that, do that. And if you can't, then there's other ways. Word of mouth definitely still is a thing. I know there's social media, which you can use to amplify the wrestling you go see. That's what Mel and I both do. And so, definitely make sure that you're checking out your local indies. And if you don't have one, then, there's like we've talked about how, different wrestling promotions are on YouTube even, and you can find them and you can support them, and just definitely try to find a way to do that, because indie wrestling is so important. Brad says, one of Kathy's favorite things to do is going to indie shows and meeting the wrestlers. Yeah, it's a blast. Oh, looks like the Spider is here.
Uh-oh. We're in trouble, everyone. Hold on to your butts. I love this guy. He's one of my favorite.
What's this guy doing here?
Uh-oh.
What's this? Who invited him?
Your avatar.
Okay, so Jamie Eternal's going to be on here. Okay. See, Jamie Eternal and Thee Spyder used to have a real good relationship together. And Thee Spyder's kind of over all those problems from the past. Unfortunately, at the last show, Thee Spyder came that close to retiring that man. Didn't get the job done, but you know what? There's always next time, Jamie. Yeah.
Those are some pretty hard.
Keep smiling.
Jamie, you got something to say back to that?
You got a rebuttal on that one?
Yeah, what do you have to say, Jamie?
Uh-oh.
Here. Thee Spyder will give you a little example of what he's going to say. He's going to say... That's what he's going to say.
Fantastic.
See, Thee Spyder, he almost killed Thee Spyder. Almost killed him, but Thee Spyder survived. And you don't want to know why Thee Spyder survived? Because you can't kill what is a superhuman. Thee Spyder doesn't die. He's been shot. He's been stabbed. He's been electrocuted. He's been hit by a van. He survived colon cancer. He has survived Jamie Eternal many times. Many times. And Thee Spyder has all the respect in the world for Jamie Eternal. But unfortunately for him, it will come again. And Thee Spyder will be the guy to retire his big monster ass.
Wow, those are some pretty strong words from Thee Spyder, and
notice how quiet.
We were warned that Thee Spyder was a lot to handle, and that's been proven already.
No. It's okay, because Thee Spyder was invited to come on here, but didn't know that this guy would be on here. And it's far from over between these two right here, because that guy right there, he has taunted and he has humiliated Thee Spyder for the last time, because Thee Spyder doesn't get humiliated and sit back and take it. Thee Spyder gets humiliated and then he comes back full force, and somebody is about to get back.
Oh no.
Yeah, see, he's going to do his little jokes. He's going to do his little jokes. Why don't you tell him to come on here and talk about his next show, because Thee Spyder will be there, buddy.
Jamie, you want to come tell us about your next show? And are you prepared for the Spider to be there waiting?
Uh-oh.
Spider. Let me give you a little, what's the word, insight. I've beaten you before. Time and time again. And I prove that I am unstoppable. I am Jamie Eternal. I am sinister. And I'm so unstoppable that if anyone does beat me, I will retire from now on. You know that. You couldn't do it at the last show. So on October 4th, it'll be Dean Hendricks taking his shot. Spider, I'm done with you. I've beaten you over and over. I've almost killed you, Spider. So
yeah, and here's the problem with that. See, you are a monster. You are unstoppable until you're not unstoppable anymore. Because Thee Spyder will get you one more time, buddy. And when Thee Spyder does get you that last time, it will be your last time.
Wow. That was pretty intense. And they weren't kidding when they said that Spider was a handful. But it sounds like Jamie Eternal is done with it. He's done with that. He's ready to move past it.
Yeah, on my way out. I don't have much left in my wrestling career, to be honest. I've been doing it for 20 years. It's time to move on. So I got a little bit left. October 4th, I'll be at Forest Wrestling against Dean Hendricks, and if he beats me, I retire. So.
Oh, wow. So you said that was October the 4th?
Yep, October 4th, Forest Wrestling at Grizzlies in Wyandotte, Michigan.
Nice.
Yes, we'll definitely make sure that.
And if you can spell that, Sam, I will give you a cookie. That's a Michigan one. So
that sounds incredible.
He finally left.
Jeez.
Maybe he can go.
I told you he's a lot. I have to go in the other room. I can't deal with that guy. I can't deal with that guy. I have to go in the other room.
I've seen him in the ring. He is a handful. And I mean,
he doesn't like Jamie Eternal.
I can see.
Apparently
but it sounds
not.
like Jamie has had enough of him as well. So October the 4th sounds really interesting.
Yeah. To be continued. We'll make sure we get the deets on that. And we've got like your stuff here so people can check those kinds of things out so they'll know where you are.
Yeah, he's got Dean Hendricks coming up next month. I really I hope things go well for Dean, because having been in the ring with that guy as many times, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful. It's going to be hard, and I hope he worked on his cardio.
I'm so excited, and I know about all these new promotions that are around. I mean, I know some of them are a bit of a drive, but some of them are not that far away from me, so I can definitely make them. It's nice.
Well, the next CCW show is actually coming up August 24th.
Yeah, that one's in Allen Park.
Yes, and for that show, I'm going to be facing New Albania again. And this time, it's not just going to be me and last time I was with Detroit Dynasty, which they're great guys, great talents, but you know, they couldn't help me get the job done. I need to get the job done. I need to be rid of these guys. Ever since I came to CCW, these guys have been a thorn in my side. Almost every match I've had has been with these guys. And I would love nothing more than to be the one who ends their group. And this time I was supposed to have Trevor Stroud, the natural born killer, and Chuck Stein, the dirty white boy, as my partners. Unfortunately, Chuck Stein has had to drop out. And I went out and I got the absolute best replacement I possibly could. So on the 24th in Allen Park, it'll be New Albania, Ike Watts, and Kabashi, and Jay Abrams against Thee Spyder, Trevor Stroud, and Madman Pondo.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hardcore legend.
All right. I'm into this. I am into this.
Hardcore legend. Pondo's going to be there.
No,
it
sucks. I mean, they only have the one move.
Well, they are those kind of guys that you kind of have to shut their mouths for them, and that's pretty much what's going to happen. I wouldn't be confident if I was them, basically.
Understandable.
Trying to bring up the
hardcore.
I think I sent you guys the flyer, the image for that one. I don't know if you have it or not.
I have it on we can share it from our Instagrams and such.
Yeah, we can post it on Twitter too.
Okay.
Because I will not be able to pull that up from here.
Oh, there we go.
I've got it here.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, that's a cool poster. Yeah.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy?
Fantastic.
He's not in the room anymore, thank God. But yeah, that's going to be a great show. Rhino's going to be there against Freedom Ramsey. I don't know if you guys know much about Leela Hall, but she's amazing. She's also going to be there. Her and Pepper are going to have a match. It's going to be a great show. And from what I understand, all the proceeds are going for the building renovations for the Knights of Columbus.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about them. They do a lot of stuff like that also. That's how
so cool.
Promotion work.
Yeah, indie wrestling in Michigan is definitely alive. You know, I remember a couple of years ago, people were like, "Oh, wrestling in Michigan's dead," and you can't say that today because there's so many promotions running. There's so many new talents coming out of the training schools. You know, you got guys like that one right there who might be able to give some of them some advice.
No, I'm excited. We have I'm glad that the indie scene is being resurrected post-COVID because it was a sad time I missed my live indie shows a lot, and I'm glad that I mean, again, you guys came straight to my town, so I mean, and I'm pretty sure that's happening again in the spring, so I'm excited for that. So
yes, CCW shows are starting to pop up all over. I know Bowser's trying to expand and do more places. I personally love doing it at the school that we did it in March.
Sure.
That was probably my favorite location of any place I've ever wrestled.
Oh, Lance Cruz. Just like, yeah, that's a nice. They have a nice gym, man.
That's my favorite venue I've ever wrestled in my career. Absolutely, nice. Just like this guy's my favorite opponent.
All right. Do you have anything else that you guys want to share or add, or or you can tell people where they can find you? That would be, and then of course we will share things as well. But if you want to leave any last words for our viewers today.
I mean, you can find me on social media at Thee Spyder or at The American Underdog. It's pretty much all the same on Twitter and TikTok, YouTube, social media. The YouTube channel usually is just clips of matches. Sometimes it's the full matches. Try to post on there as much as I can, but you can also find the false finish of Thee Spyder on that page. So it's on the page for Jake. It's on the page for Jacob Wilkins, but it's also on the page for Thee Spyder. I would more prefer people go to his channel and have his get more views. Again, it's about me, but I really want to promote it for Jake because he definitely produced a masterpiece, and I'm so grateful for the time that he spent. The man followed me around for months with cameras at shows, at the House of Truth, just going to get gas and getting food, and then all the hours of editing, all the post-production, everything that he had to go through, even for just 11 minutes, I appreciate him so much. And he's a good friend of mine. I just really want to see good things for him. I feel like he's a lot more talented than he even realizes, and I'd like to see him go further with it.
Absolutely. So make sure that we put that in there for the viewers so that they can see it as well. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Jamie, for coming as well. I think the match on October 4th sounds like it's going to be incredible, and please come back anytime, and we would love to have you out. And we have Brad has already subscribed to both YouTube pages, and he looks forward to checking out the documentary later. So
awesome. And Brad's money. He's one of our he is one of our favorites. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, one of these days coming up, you guys should get him on here so he can talk about himself instead of having to talk about me. Well, even though he loves talking about me.
He is more than welcome to come on. We'd love to have him.
We love, like Sam and I, again, we've had many people from Hershey's in North Carolina, and same thing. We are very much behind indie wrestling, and we support it as much as we can. And they're rebuilding in North Carolina, just like we're rebuilding here in Michigan. And there's some really exciting things going on in Sam's region too, and the history, obviously.
Cool.
So
yeah, in case you guys haven't noticed, he's the Wolverine and I'm the Deadpool.
Yeah,
nice. That's actually, you know what? I totally got that vibe a little bit. That's funny that you said that, because I kind of was sitting when he came on. I was like, I'm getting such a Deadpool Wolverine vibe here. It's fantastic. I hope you guys liked the movie as much as I did, because holy crap.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we actually saw it together.
Oh, that's cute.
Even better.
Hey, we only held hands for the first 30 minutes.
That's so good. That is definitely, I mean, it is a love story. If you really think about it.
Wait, you talking about us?
Well, you guys, but Deadpool and Wolverine, but I mean, you guys, like, again, wrestling reflects life, all these things,
Right.
It really does. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
That was a lot of fun. I'm glad that they were able to come talk to us. So definitely make sure that you go check that out when you're done here. You finished the show here. But definitely check that out. But yeah, like
documentary was excellent, and he is a great character, and he is wonderful in the ring. But he's just a good. I'm glad he's part of that group on the
Me
CCW. I'm
too.
glad I've gotten to see.
I'm glad
And
you got
I
to. It's
love
very cool.
both of their really, really, really happy that the mentality.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah,
It
like
was.
it was eventful.
You're right, Nikki.
Yeah, and it's only like you said, it's only like 11 minutes, but there's so much in that 11 minutes. Like it doesn't even feel like 11 minutes obviously isn't very long anyway, but like just because you get involved in the story and then you're like, oh, it's already over. Like it's really good. Nikki and I watched it. I think it was Thursday we watched it and it was really good. And I definitely highly recommend that you guys go check it out. And I'm glad that, you introduced us and that we got him on the show today because it was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed having the Spyder here too. And Jamie, that was a fun surprise. So that was really cool. I think that's the first time we've ever interviewed anybody in character before. So
yeah, I think so.
That was a Powerbombshells.
Some of them like dance on the thing, but he even he talked to us about it. So I thought it was really fun for them to have a little thing. So
yeah, definitely.
That's fantastic. And we had real wrestling stuff going on our show. How cool is that? We are so deep in here. I loved it the other week though. Garrett was hilarious. He's like, "Why'd your stuff get so many views?" And I'm like, "Because we're that awesome."
Of course, obviously. Duh. Benkin says, "Time to get Crush and Cage for an interview." Oh my god, that would be so much fun.
We are working. We'll work our way up, okay?
Thee Spyder said, "Thank you for having Thee Spyder on. It was an honor and a privilege." Well, thank you for gracing our screens today, and we're glad that the Spyder found some time in his day to come hang out for a little bit.
Hang out. Good job. That was good. You didn't even do that on purpose.
I did not. That pun was not intended.
It's freaking awesome. Damn, you're just that good.
Sometimes.
Oh, you don't know. Don't undersell yourself. You're fantastic.
Vinkin, with the last night, did you get a chance to see Collision? It was on at its early time last night at 5
I didn't because I totally forgot.
I was on live coverage for it, so that's why I was there.
I should have checked Twitter, and I have been monitoring my social media use and minimizing it because I need it to be at a healthy level. And so, especially when it's getting more close to politics time.
Sure.
And
completely understandable.
Doom scrolling is not something that I do. I cut myself off from doom scrolling a long time ago. And so sometimes wrestling discourse, if you can call it that, I'm being liberal with the definition there, but really devolves into the tribalistic stuff that's the same stuff as what goes on in politics. And the two really
there's a lot of overlap.
The triggering is just like, I don't need you. I know I can literally predict like every comment, especially like someone like when I see someone like you tweet something, I'm like, okay, well, the first guy's going to tell her to shut up because she's a girl. The second guy's going to mansplain it to her. The third guy's going to mansplain what the second guy mansplained to her. The fourth guy is going to tell her that she's only trying to sleep with the wrestlers anyway. I mean, I just like that's every female content creator in wrestling's like
everything that I write, like on the websites themselves, I never read the comments because it's not my business.
Stay out of the comments.
I was like, I never read the comments. Because it's not worth it. I mean, I have before in the past, and I never read the comments.
That's where the unhealthy
I learned my lesson early on. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy for it.
Exactly.
It's not going to change the way I write. It's not going to change my opinions of things. Especially, I know that I'm very opinionated when it comes to a lot of things, not just the wrestling I'm consuming, but the things around it.
Yeah.
So that's not going to change. So I don't read the comments. It's not worth my time or energy. So
I mean, we were just here with two people who work in the ring who actually are ambassadors of the sport also. So it doesn't need to be the way that it is in some of these toxic companies and with the stuff that goes on around it. If indie people can be that professional, then why are the professionals? I mean, that kind of like will lead into some of the stuff we're talking about too. It's like, check yourself a little bit. Right. I think I like the thing about going back to wrestling school. And I'm sure like someone like JD would totally agree with me, is like going back and working on your fundamentals once in a while, both story and sport. is an incredibly valuable tool. Sometimes when you like I'm sure you know this, when you get writer's block or whatever, sometimes it's better to just go back to like, what's the foundation of writing an article?
Right. I mean, and you even see that, like, you see that a lot, like, and I know obviously it's not a Braves fan, I watch baseball a lot. You see that a lot, like when they're going through like losing streaks and things like that. That's when they go back to the fundamentals, and it's like going back to like little league stuff to like rebuild and refresh, and like this is what we're working on today, and starting from there. So sometimes you do have to go back to the fundamentals, whether, you know, no matter what, like you said, writer's block. There's all kinds of things, creative blocks. Even you just have to like go back into that stuff as well. And then, yeah, Nikki said she sometimes reads them, but not often. It's really hard, especially when she explains why she said what she said. Yeah,
Sam does a good. I feel like, in my opinion, Sam seems to do a good job of choosing her battles. I think that for the most part, because you know when you're not changing a mind. You know what you're talking to. Like, you know what that. And also the other thing too is like, and this will always be my main thing, is like, I don't want to elevate that. Not by answering it, not by engaging. Like, I even like when it's politics season, I won't retweet politicians and things like that. I will screenshot.
Oh no,
it.
I do. I'll talk about it like offline and things like that, but I won't.
But I won't. If I like have to, if I feel compelled to answer to something, I will screenshot that thing, and just that thing, as little as I can, and I avoid that at almost all costs, unless it's like, I mean, because you're not like, at the end of the day, we're not teaching each other anything on Twitter. We're not really. I mean, Twitter isn't real life. Yes, it does influence media and market trends. Absolutely. Because it's the vocal minority. It's always the vocal minority.
It is, and that's where it is a lot on wrestling. And Nikki said that when people piled on her because of the TK and her Thunder Rosa, I had to make myself not read stuff because people were very fucking wrong. Reading comprehension is not their friend. Yeah, that's what I've learned a lot. Reading comprehension is something that, talking about fundamentals, like reading comprehension needs to be a fundamental practice. Media literacy is also something that needs to be.
In the immortal words of the great George Carlin, don't just teach your kids to read, teach your kids to understand what they read.
Right.
And teach your kids to question what they read.
Yeah. 1,000,000%.
That's the base. I mean, that's what I wonder about education today, as someone who's a former educator. What are they teaching kids? Like, what is going on sometimes? Oof, my goodness.
Well, and then I was gonna say something, but that'll take us on down a whole other road, and we'll be here forever.
I mean,
so
it's just...
I will not, because I was just gonna say, I mean, well, very briefly, that's what happens when you ban books and you take things out of criteria of what you're teaching people. Then you are taking that away from them, which for certain groups of people, that's what they want.
Yep,
they want less educated people so that they don't question.
The people in power want us to be dumb. It's again, this is also, I mean, Carlin also made great mention many times of the fact that they are only concerned with keeping power, having and keeping power, and they want us as dumb as possible. And if you want to go find some dumb shit, wrestling Twitter's for you.
I will say the one thing that was actually
I've met some great people on wrestling Twitter, so that's the other side that we always
exactly. I was like, on the one hand, there's like all this crap that you have to go through, but on the other hand, there's a really great community there too, and I can't imagine.
It's a tool. It's just like anything. It's like, here's a tool. How are you going to use it? Are you going to use the hammer for the nails, or are you going to go bashing people with it? Like,
Vinkin loves wrestling Twitter, to be honest.
I mean, if you're one of those people who likes to like put on the 3D glasses and get your popcorn and just sort of sit there, Vinkin
he loves it for his Stardom translation, which that's huge. That's super helpful.
The bad Japanese translations are kind of funny. Google Translate,
they can be.
I love it. Like, gives it to you, and then you have to translate what Google Translate gave to you, because it's like, that's not how the language works.
No. I will say though, I did have for some reason that John Moxley Yano meme took off. Like
what happened with that?
I don't know.
Did people get mad?
I saw one of the engagement accounts talking about how it was 5 years since Yano and John Moxley wrestled into G1 when Yano beat him. And there's that photo that I saved that meme 5 years ago. It's the John Moxley just devastated and in disbelief that he got by Toru Yano.
I was too. Oh my God. I was so heyday of New Japan. Those were like passionate. Those G1s are like where I'm like running around the rest of the day like angry about these finishes. I mean, I'm actually I will give this tournament credit right now. It's getting back towards I like the format better. I'm glad they're back to not having 8 million. It's back to being more normal. And I like that. And I like a good portion of the booking. Obviously, I'm rooting for Zach. That's my like heart choice.
Of course, mine too. If it's not him, it's Tsuji. That's been my thing from the get-go.
How good has Takeshita been in this?
He's been. Tournament? I hope that it reminds.
I mean, he's
Tony,
good anyway.
I hope that it reminds Tony Khan that Takeshita needs to. I'd never want him around Don Callis ever again. I want him away from that. I don't know. He doesn't need a faction. You have 957 titles. Find one to put on him, and then push him to the fucking moon.
Like,
what are we doing here?
It's. Holy crap, he's a beast. He has been like
incredible.
He's practically the MVP of the tournament right now.
Yeah,
in my like
every
like I mean there's been some great matches, but jeez.
Like I was already a big fan of his going into this, but like G1 has leveled him up. Or has at least let him be the level that we don't get to see in AEW. And that's why when he comes back, I don't want him anywhere near Don Callis. I don't want him near the Don Callis family. He doesn't need a stable. He doesn't need any of that.
Champion. He was the face of DDT for a ridiculously long time. This guy's not young. He doesn't
make him the face of AEW when he comes back. Like there's no reason. Like build on this momentum. It's kind of like when Willow got the strong title and they did it. They just kind of didn't do anything with her. Like I don't want that to happen here with Takeshita. Takeshita is undeniable. Like if you were watching this tournament and you think that he should just be doing what he was doing before, then you are missing the whole point.
Yeah, you have. I don't think you have a wrestling soul. I don't know.
Here we go. Takeshita deserves to finally be pushed to the moon. He's killing it. Yes,
he really is. And then he had the one day where he wrestled at DDT and came back and wrestled.
Yeah, that's insane. And
I got to go check that match out because John told me it was an excellent match. He said it was really good.
After he wrestled Tsuji the first night, which still there's been some great matches in that tournament, but Tsuji versus Takeshita.
Oh my God,
that's one of the best matches of the tournament. Probably, it's definitely a match of the year contender for me.
And yes, Brad, we can absolutely trade Jake Lee for anybody. Yano
I don't hate him as much as everybody else does. He's all right.
Meh. He's meh.
He's okay.
But he was meh in Noah and he's meh here. So I look at that as my that's Chase Owens' spot, okay?
I don't think he's that bad. I would not Jake Lee, I would rather watch Jake Lee than Chase Owens.
It's close, but he just
I would take him over Fale. I wouldn't say Jake Lee is that bad. I would take him way over. And as far as I know, he's not as trash as Chase Owens is. So
fair point. As far
as I know. I might have to take that statement back. But one thing about what I was gonna say about that whole John Moxley, that photo, I don't know why. So I just was like, oh, I remembered. I was like, oh, that meme. And so I just said this iconic picture is 5 years old today, and it for whatever reason blew up. The last time I looked at it, it had 4,000 likes on it.
Whoa!
I've never had anything get that many likes on it before.
That's fantastic. That's actually kind of fun. You're like
a couple years ago, and
you're like,
almost
I have a show this weekend.
Yeah, it's like, I guess this is where I promote a podcast.
Yeah, you totally. I love that. I was like, good job.
Like, I don't know.
Well done.
I don't know what to do with this, but every single comment was like really nice, except for one guy thought he was. I didn't even respond to him. I guess he thought he was doing something because at the time it was at 3,000 likes. But he said, "This picture is so iconic. This is the first time I've ever seen it." Well, I don't know what you've been doing what you were doing 5 years ago, but 3,000 other people have seen
the
this.
whole world is measured by your fucking
right. And so I nearly responded, and I was just like, you know what? This thread has been really nice. The quote tweets have been really funny. I was like, I'm just gonna ignore it because I am enjoying that people love this as much as I do.
I mean, yeah. That's great. I'm really glad that it was all likes. When you said it blew up, I was like, "Oh, I hope it blew up in a good way." Because
it did. It blew up. That is the first time I think I've had blow up where it's been nice and not, because usually when I have things blow up, I have to mute it. The last thing that blew up was about Vince McMahon and all the bots.
That'll need to mute.
If you don't think that they're using bots, that tweet is proof.
They definitely are
use bots, and that they use.
Of course they do. They have, and
it's maybe not even just WWE using bots. It's the PR company that Vince McMahon hired.
Absolutely,
they're using bots, job. And so I immediately I woke up that when I went to bed, it had 30 likes on it. The next day, it was a bunch of likes, and then the replies were just slandering Janelle Grant, talking about how great Vince is, and I was like, mute this. I was like,
Linda McMahon is involved in politics. Politicians. I'm blocked by Sally Albright because she is one of the notorious sock puppet account people that worked for the politics in 2016. She was one of the notorious masterminds behind millions of puppets, just millions of sock puppet accounts that were anytime anyone said anything bad about Hillary, it was loaded into their replies. Of course. I know that they not only have access to that technology, but almost every company that's smart, that's large, is using that tech. You have to. Because the way Delta picks up on somebody complaining about their service is because they're running something like that, not because there's someone sitting there oh, Jim needs his bags. They got lost in Houston.
Right.
That's a thing that's alerting somebody that's saying, here's somebody complaining, we need to cover.
They have filters on, and there's programs that you can use for that type of stuff. So
I could do it. Yeah, you're right. We could. I know someone. A friend of mine could just build that.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Twitter, use it correctly. Be adults.
Well, some people think that is correctly. So
that's not though. All right, back to some of these comments and some of the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, so Kwame says that Takeshita is absolutely phenomenal in the ring, and he's so much better without having the stink of the Callis family. Brad says Dave gave Jake Lee versus Naito a 0.5 star.
Actually, you know what? That was a pretty shitty match. I totally ignored it.
Yeah.
I was meh.
Brad says Yuya Uemura has had a breakout. Absolutely. He turned it on during the G1. It's like he finally got the sink of impact off him from his excursion. Yeah, Yuya has looked incredible. I'm so happy for him. I've been a Yuya fan for a long time, and I'm so glad to see this version of Yuya.
I think it was him and Jeff Cobb recent. Was one of the matches? Is that right? I think
so. Yeah, that sounds right.
That match was so dope.
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb is always one of my favorites, obviously. I love watching him and Zach. It's I'm always rooting for them no matter what.
Of course.
They're back to storytelling in the ring and stuff with some of these matches. It's really fun. They said they weren't going to do the outside interference in the House of Torture stuff, but it seems they're basically every time. So I'm not really sure what the deal is there.
Right. But I guess it's a little less than normal. Maybe, but yeah, the one thing I will say about Jeff Cobb, he was on commentary and he made a joke about Shooter that was not It was kind of it was homophobic, and I was a little, because I heard about it before I saw the match, and then I heard it myself, and I was like, what are we doing here? It was something, I don't remember the exact line, but it was something about Shooter when he was saying something about the betting odds being at something along the lines of 97% that he's coming out of the closet. Why the fuck would you say that?
Whoa,
and are you saying that because you actually think he's gay, or is it because he wears pink and he's attractive? Like, why would you say why? And Walker just ignored it, and then he said something else to try to, because the joke didn't land, and Walker was just like, I'm not going to touch that subject. And so
he probably really handled it properly. Walker's been doing an amazing job.
He has been. It was very unfortunate to hear Jeff Cobb say something like that.
That's
and
not
I thought it
good.
was way out of line.
I don't like
that. Yeah,
I don't know if I caught that or not, but
yeah, I said, I saw a couple of tweets about it earlier in the day, and then when Nikki and I watched it that night, we heard it, and I was just like, "What are we doing here?
Why was that necessary?" Because I've seen all the ones that he was on commentary. So that's
it was the first night that Jeff Cobb was on commentary, and Shooter was. I think Shooter was the first match of the night, and I was just like,
don't do that.
Let's not do that. It's 2024. First of all, if he is gay. First of all, if he is gay, who gives a fuck? But secondly, that's not your place to say something like that, especially if he's not out. And
there are better
there's
jokes.
Multiple reasons not to make that joke. And then if he's straight, then why make that joke? Because he wears pink? Bret Hart wore pink? Like, what are we doing?
People forget themselves, I think. They don't.
I was like, maybe it's something they've joked about backstage, and it came off on camera, and he wasn't thinking about what.
Maybe that's a really good point. Maybe they have something between them, like backstage.
Perhaps, but regardless, it was out of line.
We wouldn't know that. So
regardless, it was out of line and very inappropriate, and I was very disappointed to hear Jeff Cobb say something like that. So
don't.
But anyway, I will go back to the comments, because USVA guy makes a good point here that Takeshita has a problem. He needs to spend a ton of time in New Japan. The Japanese New Japan fans like him, but they don't love him regardless of how good he is in the ring. DDT is not respected, which
I believe
fair, because Gabe Kidd who made the comment on commentary the other night about DDT having DDT in their because Takeshita has DDT in his entrance video, and I think it was Gabe Kidd made a reference and knocked DDT for him having that, and so
but USVA down
says that I don't think that Tony will allow him to spend a lot of time there. If he's not going to use him properly, he probably should, but I think you're right. I think because of all of the buzz that he has, he's not going to let him stay in Japan. He's going to, hopefully, the smart thing would be to build on that buzz.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
We've seen that people have buzz before, and then they don't know what to do.
It'd be good for the fall, especially with them both doing because they're doing Wrestle Kingdom, and then they're having their Tokyo Dome show for AEW,
they're doing the Wrestle Dynasty.
Dynasty, that's it.
On January the 5th. And then
so they should really catch up. That's too bad. I mean, it was
it was Gabe Kidd.
I know, Nikki. Every time I see him, I kind of feel like,
I have I don't like Gabe Kidd for some things that he said about Mariah May a few years ago, and perhaps I don't know them. Maybe he apologized for the way what he said, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that he didn't. So I just don't care for him, and his character just really pisses me off. But it's probably because I just don't care for him, which is unfortunate because I was a fan of his until I heard that comment, and then I was like,
yeah, that sucks because he had one of the best matches of the year, and
he's a great wrestler. I just
try and it's just like with everything, because nowadays it's like it's sort of that no ethical consumption under capital, like the cronyism, like
right.
I know that I would not hang out with that person.
Right.
I will watch them wrestle, and I will let that stuff go because life is life. And
yeah, I mean, I
won't be buying his merch.
I have skipped some matches in his tournament in the tournament that he's in just because he annoys. I mean, sometimes I will watch him. I do think he is a good wrestler. I will give, and he's great at being a heel. He's great at what he does. I don't know how far off his heel character is from his real personality, which might be why it works so well. But I mean,
sometimes it's like the polar opposite with people.
Just because I'm like, I don't want to watch New Kid today.
Yeah, I hear you.
But
there have been, I mean, again, it's like the ones that I'm skipping are the ones like that. If he's wrestling Naito or something, I don't know. Whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, there was a really great, that match with him and Shingo was really great.
Really good.
Yeah, and really I left it because it's Shingo, and I was like, but it was
Shingo.
Gabe looked fantastic. Shingo was incredible. So yeah, I mean, he just, if I don't have to watch him, then I won't go out of my way to watch him, but I don't know. I would rather watch him on the ring than listen to him on commentary, because all he does, because he's a heel, so he just heels it up the entire time, and he talks way too much. He talks a lot, and I'm like,
he's too much. I mean, I'm sure that Walker's trying different people, and I know what it's doing.
I know it's the character. I know what he's doing. I know he's getting over.
Yeah, but
I get it. But sometimes I'm like, my guy, just take a breath. Take a breath, Jericho, and let it breathe. let Walker talk.
Walker knows what he's doing.
Just let him talk. I mean, I get it. He's a wrestler. He's a heel. Like, I know, I get all of it. And so, but sometimes I'm like, just, my gosh, just shh for like 5 seconds.
You're up here and they need you down here.
Right.
Walker, let the big boy who's 21 or whatever. God, act like, honestly, like the best broadcaster in wrestling right now is Walker Stewart.
Walker's incredible.
And also,
like,
kills these freaking matches.
He does. And he's so good at bringing in like the history and the knowledge, and he's killing it. And again, we talked about it, I think like a week or two ago, like he's 21 years old and is already this good. Like, what is he going to be like in 10 years? Which is,
and he's actively
crazy.
Like he's like, not, from everything we've seen of him, he's not someone that's like, I'm great. He's like, I'm learning. It's awesome. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And speaking of announcers,
teach a school on how to do broadcasting. I can walk away from these matches. He's doing such a good job that I can walk away and still get it's like a real sport.
Right.
The broadcasters actually, it's like Kevin Kelly level. I mean, why did you have to just talk about your politics and stuff? Shut up.
But I will say, speaking of commentary, Caprice Coleman was listed. I think it was PWI named him like the number 3 best color commentator or something like that. Really high praise, which was awesome.
That's awesome.
I love Caprice. You know, you watch this show, you know that Mel and I love Ian and Caprice, and
they do a really nice job. Actually, Caprice, that's just something. He's
great. They add so much to the ROH broadcast every week, and they play so well off of each other, which I think is really great. And then luckily for me, I get to see Caprice now because he is now with Ashe. He's the commissioner. So the next time the next show that they have, which will unfortunately will be in September now because Paris's bumping was canceled for a number of reasons. So in September, I'll get to see him and I can't hear him on commentary very much because I'm in the crowd, but I know that you have been able to hear him along with Suge and Chris Lee. So it's nice to see Caprice getting that.
They are fun. Awesome. I have not watched an Ashe show that I haven't, like, they've done a really nice job on the broadcast table. Chris is great. It's really, I mean, again, like Darius just being Darius, like, is making this thing amazing, and he's bringing so many amazing people who are bringing more people. It's like, again, with some of the locals here that are rebuilding and becoming a thing, and like Ashe is like filling in the hole that you guys need.
Thing here.
It's just amazing, and it's so great. I'm so glad that I can't believe, like, when we're talking about it being almost a year, I'm over the moon for that. The fact that they've continued to run, like, there's another show. We're going on like 5 of these things. Oh my God.
That's incredible. Right. It really is. I'm so glad that's there. And speaking of Chris Lee, and I'll hopefully will remember it again, but Chris Lee, if you remember, he was on the show. He and Cliff were on the show talking about When Giants Walked Here. It premieres this Thursday, August the 8th. If you are in the state of North Carolina, you will be able to watch it on your local PBS channel. At 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then for everybody else in the US, you will be able to watch it on the PBS app at 11 p.m. Eastern time. And I think I think they said it's like an hour long, something like that. And then they are working on, if you missed the interview before, they are working on international ways to watch it. It just kind of depends on how the initial showing goes on PBS. And then they are looking at trying to get it available internationally. So for right now, it will be in the US only. But like I said, we'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. But if you are in the US and you're not in North Carolina, or even if you are, because I downloaded the PBS app, download the PBS app, make sure you can watch it Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern time.
Thank you, because I wanted to remember I saw that and I was like, you need to sign up for this app. I really want to watch that one too.
Yeah, I do too. I'm so excited. I'm working on transcribing some of that interview with them so that it'll be on. It's going to be on Daily DDT.
Oh, that's excellent.
Some of that. So
I'm so glad they were able to give us time. That's so
Me
cool.
too.
Because that's a huge undertaking what they did. And I'm excited. It's not my region, but you know me. I love it.
Yes, I do. I was like, this is right up Mel's alley too.
No, this is in my wheelhouse so hard. They were talking about like the venue and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, we could nerd out about buildings for an hour. So.
Right. I do want to say we'll go back to some of the comments over here before we get into some stuff. But Vinka says MJF is in Mexico in the meantime doing the Jack Swagger shtick. Yes, he is. He's wrestling. He had Rocky Romero being his translator. I saw a clip of it in Mexico. So he would say something and then Rocky would repeat it. And at first I thought Rocky was going to say, like, make it sound like he was saying what MJF was saying, but he was really like talking shit. Else. But it appears to that he was actually repeating what he said, at least for now. And then, yes,
he is the king of sneaky style, so you never know.
And then, yes, and Rocky actually, I saw today he is the guest on AEW this week. I saw, and it made me. Oh, it's funny. So I missed SmackDown the week before because I was at Ashe, and so he came. I was watching this Friday. I was doing coverage for it, and Tongaloa was wearing an eye patch, and I was like, "Is his eye scratched, or is he like got Rocky Romero vibes?" And somebody's like, "His eye is scratched, but also vibes."
You're like, "What's up? You trying to Chico Luchador me or what?"
No, I was like, I left. Right, definitely. Chico Luchador came up, and
see, it's so funny because I have 2 8x10s. One was bought for me. It was the Jeff Cobb one that that John got me because it was very cute and I love it. And I'm not traditionally, but I did, get the ones that I've gotten now. And so the other one was if you bought a Rocky Romero, the Chico Luchador, he was holding his dog, even it's adorable. You were entered into getting tickets to the Dallas kickoff show for the G1. Oh, and nice. I was like, F it. Because I love Rocky and I've loved him since he is almost the main reason that I signed up finally for New Japan, that I stopped that I wasn't a pirate anymore. Like I signed up, a lot of it was Rocky on commentary, and then John gave me a whole thing on his like History's Black Tiger. Like Rocky is my like first Japanese wrestler like that I attached myself to and like knew his history. And I mean, Suzuki was the first one to catch my eye. I was like, this guy is my jam.
Yeah. Right.
And it was like a day, it was one of the days where he like threw a temper tantrum and then like laid down in the ring or something. And I was just like, this guy's awesome.
Yes, he rules.
And I mean, I got to like have a picture with him, so
that's cool. Yeah, I have a picture with Rocky and it was Roppongi 3K because when they did the New Japan PWX show and it was centered on Liger, Roppongi 3K was here as well, and Nikki is a huge fan of theirs, and so we did the meet and greet with them too, and we got pictures with Roppongi 3K, and we got autographs from them too. That was really cool.
Yeah, we have the autograph. So I got two, and I got my King of Sneaky style shirt that I love because I was like, well, I need this. So let's just enter it. Like, who cares? And so we have a couple of signed ones now, and I love it. So I'm just like, plus when Talking Shop-Mania, when they did those during the pandemic,
those were great.
No Do Job is like one of my favorite things in the world. There's times when like we'll be talking about a wrestler who never wants to like lose, and I'm like, yeah, he's Chicoing over there. He no do job.
Right. Exactly. Those Talking Shop-Mania shows were insane. They were so funny.
So good.
They
were so nerdy.
They are. I love them.
They're so such good. Like they're like right in that vein of like the Final Deletion and stuff. They're in that realm.
Yes.
It's like you shouldn't. Why do I like this? It's insane. You could never explain it to somebody. It'd be like trying to explain Twin Peaks to someone or something.
That's like also
you either get it or you don't.
It's kind of like Joe Hendry. Like you either get Joe Hendry or you don't. You either believe in Joe Hendry or you do not believe in Joe Hendry.
You said his name and he did not appear, but
no, we're gonna we'll say it enough he'll appear. But I do believe in Joe Hendry. I actually long believed in Joe Hendry way before he got
before he was popular.
Yes,
we believed in Joe Hendry at the very beginning. Sam, exactly. clap. I'm hopefully I think that my friend has gotten, because they were moving and so forth, but I think that my friend has gotten into a place where we might be doing our little project for our Joe Hendry thing. So we'll see. I mean, little tease.
There's a little tease, but Brad is correct. Everybody believes in Joe Hendry except TNA.
True that, Brad.
Isn't that the damn truth? Nikki says Rocky was super nice. I told him I wanted them to keep coming back, and he said that that was the plan. And then, well, we lost PWX.
Yeah, that's a bummer. It was funny too because John actually met him when he was in the over in OTT, and he was telling him about how I was getting involved in it, and he's like, "So how'd it go?" And he's like, "She signed up," and he's like, "Yes." He's like, I thought you'd really enjoy that, because he was so excited that like he was essentially like your gateway into signing up for it. And he's like, cool. I just felt like I had to tell him, because it was really him on commentary with Kevin Kelly, and it was like when Okada was doing some of his crazy stuff, so he was like Okada's best friend, but not. And it just, oh man, those were the
good stuff.
Very good golden era.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, definitely. You know what? Even in the COVID years, I never unsigned up, and
I have never unsubscribed. I have been
New Japan's been the one that I've
subscriber since 2018-ish.
Me too.
2017-ish, somewhere in there. And
yeah, I have 17 or 18 is me too.
I've never once canceled. That's the one thing that I make sure I keep going. Vinkin says, I saw part of a Jericho interviewing Hendry, and they were talking about how Hendry got those boards at the Hydro in Scotland and how his face appeared on it. Oh, I bet that was really cool. I saw that he was doing the Jericho interview, and how, because it was really cool, because I mentioned because at Clash of the Castle, that it was at the Hydro, and on the way in, there was billboards with Joe Hendry's face. That picture, and it was so cool. And at first, I thought people were photoshopping it, and then I saw him retweeting stuff, and then somebody recorded it as they walked by, and I was like, "Oh, this is a legit billboard." Like somebody put like Joe Hendry. I don't know if it was Joe Hendry or his team, and this, of course, is before the TNA. I think it was before the TNA crossover had started, and so I didn't know if like Joe Hendry and his team did it, or TNA, or like who was behind it, and that they just put, and it was perfect. It was just like going right into the Hydro is this billboard, and I was like, that is some incredible marketing. And Vinkin says it was Joe Hendry. That's what I thought, and I don't know how much he paid, but he's gotten.
I was going to say it doesn't seem like something TNA would do, but it does seem like something he would do, especially from some of the stuff I've like seen him talking about.
He bought 2 boards for that weekend. What an investment in yourself. Awesome. And your character.
Yeah, but it's like over 1 million views, and it's on the billboards. Like radio DJs were getting
$1,000. He's earned that $1,000 back. Yeah, good for him.
Actually, you know what? That's cool. Really inexpensive for the amount
2 billboards, and for what? Yeah, for the amount for what he has gotten back from that.
I mean, everybody that knows. So that's going to be awesome. All the people, like you said, you saw people were actually like, they're just going to tweet that. And they're just going to put that on their Facebook and on their whatever. Like, you're welcome. He spent $1,000 and got like a bazillion engagements.
Yeah, right.
And he should have.
Good for him.
Because he's fun.
He is fun. And then before we get into our subjects, I do want to say really quick. So I wore my Johnny Gargano shirt because
I heard they might be breaking up DIY. Is that
no? It's not. No, they didn't break them up. They made them drop their titles in less than a moon cycle. Their title reign lasted 28 days. 28 days. The month of February lasted as long as their title reign lasted the length of February. Less than a full moon cycle.
Dude, so I've been catching up on my Wrestling Observers, and I was listening to them, and I heard them start to talk about DIY and how they were like doing that, and I was like, oh no, Sam is going to be so mad.
I was pissed. Well, and so I missed the SmackDown before. So I didn't, because of the Ashe show. So I didn't know there was a gauntlet match for number one contenders.
Right.
So I had no clue. And so the main event was DIY versus Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga.
Oh, that's right. And it's Jacob
in
Fatu
Cleveland.
Everyone.
So it's in Cleveland. Before they go to the screen, like before they go out there, Johnny Gargano's like, Tommaso Ciampa said whatever he said. They cut to Johnny Gargano. Candice is back there. She has baby wrestling with her. Oh. They go out there. They're having this really great match. They come in hot. They're doing all their stuff. They've been doing the Shatter Machine lately, calling it the Shatter Machine.
Oh,
on top of that,
nice. Yeah. Well done.
They do the Shatter Machine, and then the Bloodline does Bloodline things, and they get distracted. And the next thing you know, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are the new champions. So they title reign lasted 28 days. Lost in Johnny Gargano's hometown. Didn't even bother doing it on SummerSlam. Like they didn't even do it on listen. I've watched wrestling a really long time. I get why you do. I get it. I get you want heat on them. I get all of it. Doesn't make me like it anymore. Especially
but it's like 2 weeks before SummerSlam or something.
No, SummerSlam was last night. They did it the night. They did it the night before SummerSlam. They did it the night
before SummerSlam, so why not put that on the freaking show?
That's what I said. I was like, if you're gonna do it, especially because we knew Roman Reigns was coming back last night, so like, why not? Already have it as a big night, and then on top of that, Jacob Fatu got injured last night, and it appears to be a legitimate injury, and he was seen walking in a boot after the show last night. So I'm guessing. So I was like, are they gonna drop the titles now? I don't know how serious it is. Maybe it's something that's only a few weeks, and maybe they freebird it and let.
They're so WWE is so WWE.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like, I'm
really are.
I know that there are reasons that they could, but like looking at that, I'm like, why would Motor City go there for that?
I know, it's just that there are a lot of rumors.
They don't care about tag team wrestling. I mean, of course, we've seen AEW doesn't really care about tag team wrestling.
Obviously, they don't. They just did that.
Yes, well, but AEW, we've talked about it. AEW's tag team is not much better.
No, they're not.
It's like a step above. Yeah, and so they don't care about tag team wrestling there, and they just. I'm like, and now that the Bloodline is back, like Roman Reigns came back last night.
Oh, okay.
Those titles are going to be probably Bloodline.
It's all going to be Bloodline. It's going to have all the titles.
For a while, because I was like, I don't know now what happens if Jacob Fatu is seriously injured or like I said, they might just freebird it. Then maybe at some point now that Roman's back, and my guess is that Survivor Series is going to be old bloodline versus new bloodline. Like, I think that's where they're going with it.
Oh, okay.
So I think
they can unify the table again and retcon everything.
So I feel like that's the story that they're telling here. But I think those titles are going to be tied up with the bloodline for the foreseeable future. So, like, what is your tag team doing? Because then if you're on Raw and you're over there, the current tag team champions are Finn Balor and JD McDonough, and Finn Balor turned on Damian Priest last night. So there's that. And then down in NXT, your tag team champions are Supersonic Duo, which is Axiom and Nathan Frazier. And I think they do know that Cedric and Ashanti have gone down to NXT. So they do have that as a tag team. But like, their tag team, I don't think division is much stronger. But then again, AEW's tag team division is not very strong either. But when I see things like that, I'm like, why? Other than the money, like, I get it. But like, looking as a fan who loves tag team wrestling, like, if I'm looking at both companies, neither one are very appealing.
No, really not.
They're not doing it. I will say, though, last night, the Acclaimed cut a really good promo on FTR last night. It was probably the best promo Max Caster has ever cut. And I was like, see, if you leave all the bullshit behind, like, you can be fine. And like, I've never heard, and I even was talking to my editor about that. He was like, that's the best promo Max Caster has ever cut. It was a very good one. Bowens is great on the mic, and I think the more he does it, the better he'll be. And so I was just like, but it's really not much better. I mean, both tag team divisions suck. They don't pay attention. They just they're just there. And which is very unfortunate, because the talent is there.
Yeah, both companies have a lot of
they're both lacking in their tag team divisions. And so I'm like,
and there's tag teams that are, I mean, you've got Motor City up for grabs and potentially Penta and Phoenix up for grabs.
Well, and there's also GYV, who were rumored, a couple of GYV was rumored like a month ago to come to AEW. But I mean, you've got MXM now, which they're using they've been on both ROH and AEW programming. MXM has been really great. Their promos. Which
one is MXM again?
The MXM collection is Mansoor and Mason Maddox. They were in WWE with these characters and did the best they could with them, got fired, went on the indies, have done really well for themselves on the indies. Like, we saw them at DPW in December, and the Maximum Male Models is what they were called.
Oh, okay.
Their MXM collection.
What I thought. Okay.
Yeah, but when they showed up at DBW, that building like lost it. It was so loud when they came out.
I bet.
And then, like, they've been doing GCW, they've been doing all kinds of indies, and then they showed up, they cut some promos, they did like some vignettes for ROH, and then they had their first match at Death Before Dishonor in the pre-show. Then they wrestled on Collision the following night, then they wrestled on Rampage this week. And they've been really great, and I'm really happy that they're there, and I hope that means the tag team division's turning around a little bit. But then you've got the belts are stuck on the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are too busy with their elite storyline. The belts aren't being defended. They owe the Acclaimed a title match, but FTR wants to have a rematch at All In, which I have no interest in. And now it's looking like it's going to be a triple threat, which I want probably even less than that. So I'm just like, what are we doing with our tag teams? And then Nikki said that AEW caters to FTR way too much. Yes, and she is of the opinion, and I happen to agree, that FTR is not as important or as good as they think they are. I tend to agree with that statement. Transferring Heat says that MSK is wrestling Axiom and Nathan Frazier on NXT this week. Yeah, and I've heard that I don't keep up with NXT as much, but I have heard that Axiom and Nathan Frazier are a really great team, which is nice to hear. So I'm glad that is happening. But yeah. And then Venkin says he misses the Viking Raiders. I don't know that we're getting them back. It sounds like that. Sounds like that injury is pretty serious.
So we got to see that a while ago. We got to see that house show, the NXT house show, and they were on it, and they were great. It was
when they were War Machine in New Japan, ROH and New Japan. Like I loved War Machine.
They were
they were great.
I think that it was like when they were doing like the meat thing or whatever. I can't even remember, but it was like right before they made them into the Viking Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made my own feeling cute, my Viking Raider later. Because, you know, it was actually something that like a few people joked with me about because, you know, they turned them into Vikings and Bob and I got turned into Vikings. So they were so good. They really were.
I love
They were just great. That's the kind that's like the kind of big smashy tag team flippy. Like those guys shouldn't be able to do that, but do it. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, they were great. I love them. But I don't know. The injury sounds like it's pretty bad. I don't know what's going to happen with them. They're both.
That would be so stupid. They like take the titles off DIY and Jacob Fatu gets hurt. So it's just stuck. It's like they're in limbo.
Yeah, I think somebody made a there was a comment up here. It got moved. I did see it. Brad said if Fatu is really hurt, that means Tonga Loa has to wrestle, and these WWE fans are having to sit through a ring work by Tonga Loa. Bless his heart. Last night I saw wasn't planning to watch SummerSlam at all. The only thing I did watch was the main. The only reason I turned into the main is because a friend was watching and Arn Anderson was there with Cody, and Arn said that he called in a couple of people to help him out. And as she was like, could it be Motor City? And I was like, she said, did they have a relationship? And I was like, an ROH, but they were Bullet Club were heels. They were baby faces. They wouldn't be on Cody's side, most likely. But on the off chance that they were there last night, I did watch the main event. Jacob, immediately thought, I was like, Jacob is hurt. It looks bad. And some people were like, well, maybe he's selling for the Roman Reigns return, which is possible. But then there was a photo of him after the show at a gas station and he was wearing a walking boot. So it seems like there's something going on. But there was I didn't see it when it happened. There's a clip of Tonga Loa and he's trying to run, pushing, was it Cody? Pushing somebody back, and he was pushing them. He was supposed to push him into the turnbuckle, and he pushed him into the ropes next to the turnbuckle. But in his defense, he is wearing an eye patch, so maybe he just can't see. And at some point, Hikuleo is coming, so there's that.
Awesome.
But yeah, I don't. Yes, the turnbuckle spear.
Oh my God.
No, I haven't seen the Judgment. I know it happened. I was following along on Twitter because I was watching the Olympics. I was watching Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky win gold is what I was. And Sha'Carri Richardson. I was watching her win gold as well. That's what I watched instead because they had plenty of people after I was done with Collision. So I was like, cool. I'm not going to watch this.
So happy for Simone
because
Biles.
then from what everything I kept seeing was like, this is basically Raw. They were like, this is all Raw angles. They're like, this is not a pay-per-view. I did see a comment over here early, and I don't want to ignore that because I had heard that too. Let me find it. Yeah. There was a 3-hour pre-show with no matches. And so some of the people who were on coverage turned over to Collision during the pre-show. And there were 7 matches, all singles matches, and no match had black talent.
On SummerSlam? Is that SummerSlam?
Yep, at SummerSlam. That has been a conversation that has come up a lot, is how black talent is treated under Triple H. And that last night did not help his case at all.
Well, actually, it's been a problem with the whole company the whole time, really.
It has, but then there's even more.
But that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Nobody?
Tommy says the same thing. Hated SummerSlam card so much because there was 0 black talent, which is
I can't believe they didn't have one black, not one single. You have Bianca Belair.
They had Jade. They had Jade and Bianca wrestle on SmackDown the night before.
Why?
I mean, they don't have the titles. They're trying to get their titles back from the Unholy Union. Didn't put that match on SummerSlam. They didn't put DIY on SummerSlam. It's just, I don't know what we're doing here.
God, get a.
Yeah.
Paul Levesque can eat one.
He can.
Like a big one.
Yes. Oh.
he can F all the way off.
He can.
He's literally the apple doesn't fall from the tree, even though he's not genetically related.
They were parading Stephanie McMahon around last night.
They may not be related, like, genetically, but
no, he's learned from him. And they paraded like Stephanie around all over, apparently, from what I hear. I saw pictures and videos of it. Apparently her and CM Punk made up. There's pictures of them hugging, which is a whole nother thing. But yeah, it was just and I did tune in for the press conference, which was a big waste of my time because they did. I don't know that this is something they normally do, or maybe they do and I just don't remember. They would like cut to a wrestler in the back in the media scrum. Then they cut outside to the table where like it was like Biggie, Jackie Redmond, Wade Barrett, and Peter Rosenberg. They interviewed Drew McIntyre. Then they cut to Kathy Kelly, who interviewed Braun Breaker. Then they cut back to the media room and interview, I think it was like, or they started off with Nia Jax is what it was. And then like, so they were just all over the place and going back and forth. I'm like, what is the media doing during this media scrum? Just like sitting here? What are we? It was very weird. And then Triple H came out and then he just, before they got to the questions, he just talked and talked and talked forever. And I think part of that is to avoid having to answer so that he can only answer like 5 questions, which is what he did.
The F out of the people to get
them
to,
and like... the only half decent question was when somebody asked, Sean Ross Sapp actually asked, does Stephanie McMahon have an official role in the company? We saw her on TV tonight. She's been back at pay-per-views. And if she does have an official role, what is it? And he was like, no, she doesn't have an official role. She's just here enjoying the show. She's having a really good time. She's having a lot of fun. There were a couple of years there where she wasn't having fun. No one thought to ask why. Well, why was that? Why was Stephanie not having a good time? Want to talk about that? But of course, nobody asked that. The last question, he took one question.
No, that would be you need real journalists in the room.
And we know that sometimes there are journalists in there who ask those questions and not get called on. So sometimes that happens too.
That's fair.
The last question was basically a SummerSlam going to move to 2 nights. And he just was giving some long rambling answer about that. And when he like pretended not to know who Bill Apter was, then said,
Pro Wrestling. Out.
Then he said Pro Wrestling Illustrated made up stories back in the day. So I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we even doing this? It was a waste of my time. But
that is a waste of your time. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I guess you have to because you have to suffer through that because it's part of your job and stuff. But good Lord, like that guy, it's never been more evident that someone is not taking seriously the gravity of what's happening with his company. Like, it's just, they're just doing the same old thing. It's amazing.
They are. It is. Vinkins says, no, we had to do these dumb promo packages of SummerSlam about the numbers and favorite SummerSlam moments. And and then like our friends of ours were watching and they were like, there are so many ads and like ad placements with the sponsor. And I was like, you can thank TKO for that. Yep. My editor at Daily DDT, Raphael, has been saying from day one when this merger happened that WWE was going to start being very much like the UFC and we were going to see it start bleeding over. And he's been yelling it until he turns blue in the face.
And he's been like, I
keep telling you, this is what's happening. And this is what I was telling them. I was like, this is welcome to the TKO version of WWE. It's going to continue to be like this. Just
Raphael,
even though I did not watch it, I had earlier in the week before Logan Paul said the things that he said this week. Prior to that,
I heard about that.
I cannot stand that guy. I said I can't wait for him to get pinned on the Prime logo, and apparently I knew he lost last night, and I asked. I said, "Did he get pinned on the Prime logo?" And he did, and that made me laugh. I was like, that's hilarious to me that he got pinned on his own logo for multiple reasons. I just can't stand that guy for multiple reasons. But Daza said, if The Rock was related to some Joshi wrestlers, would they have been on the show? Fair question.
I mean, I'm leaning towards yes, but that's just me. Yeah, I'm with you, Nikki.
All right. We have something else to talk about, but this conversation could lead into the other topic. So I don't know if we should jump into this topic.
We'll do whichever thing you want to, because I know that you have
thoughts on both of them. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and we gotta be done.
Which
soon.
one do you want to go with?
You know what? We're already talking about WWE, so we'll stick with Shane. We'll into the
transition,
Shane.
Right? That one
we'll transition into Shane because earlier this week, a picture came out, leaked of Shane,
Marvel trailers get leaked. Those were air quotes for listeners,
right? On a Wednesday, hours before Dynamite.
Weird.
Just so happens this picture.
Weird. What a coincidence! What a strange coincidence.
Surprise! Tony Khan looks surprised that he's being photographed with Shane McMahon across the table from him. This happens to leak, and not one freaking person asked about it last night. What are you doing? Why did you not ask?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Why is Shane McMahon meeting with the owner of your rival company?
That's a really good
Shane
question.
McMahon? We have seen Stephanie McMahon on your show. We saw her tonight. We've seen her at WrestleMania. There's been pictures of Linda backstage, but not Shane. Why is that? Why does Shane McMahon not want to be involved with WWE? Would you care to elaborate on that? What do you think of Shane McMahon being photographed with Tony Khan, even though Shane McMahon has said all they were doing was talking about wrestling, which maybe they were. Maybe that's all they talked about was the first time they ever met.
You're a legitimate journalist, and you're never getting your ass into it. You're never getting creds for a WWE press conference. I'm glad you don't want them because you're never getting them, girl.
No, when I saw that, I was like, because that's why I watched. The whole reason I watched that press conference was to see if somebody asked about Shane McMahon.
Which would make freaking sense. That's like the question of the week.
That not one person asked that question, and I don't know if it's because they were not called on, which is certainly possible. Or if they just were like, you know what? I'm here for the content to get the clicks, and even though that would get you a lot of clicks.
Oh my god. Who cares? You're gonna get the clicks no matter what.
Maybe. Yeah.
I can't believe that. You know what? That's a really good. That's just wow.
That is I just don't know how you don't ask why a McMahon. Why is the McMahon meeting with Tony Khan for whatever reason?
The guy that you're in a wrestling war with.
Maybe it goes back to, maybe it's true. Maybe they just met the one time because Mercedes ran into Shane recently at the airport. Maybe Shane and Tony were in the same place at the same time. Perhaps maybe all it was talking about wrestling, and that's just a getting to know you. Hi, nice to meet you for the first time. Perhaps that's all it is.
Yeah.
But it is a question worth asking. Why is the McMahon meeting with the owner of your rival company? Nobody thought to ask that at SummerSlam last night. And again, Nikki, this is what I feel like this is probably what happened, is that they purposely skipped asking certain journalists so they could not be asked.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure people like John Alba and like Brandon Thurston and people are in that room usually. Or
the bride said apparently John Pollock wasn't allowed into the presser again.
I'm sure.
Surprised.
John Pollock has a bad habit of asking actual journalistic questions.
I am so shocked by that. And that Thurston was there, but they didn't call on him. Again, I am so shocked that they don't call on the two people.
Them. They can't exactly blackball them because they know
because it'll turn into a thing.
Well, those guys are legit. Like, people look to them for actual legitimate news about the business.
Are covering this the most closely.
The small group of like real journalists that are at that level. Like, of course they're not gonna. They can't. Like Dave even was talking about this. It's like they can't blackball them from the room, but they can
turn into a whole thing. So they just don't call which is probably what we're gonna keep seeing. Is they're gonna be invited. Or one of them, apparently they can only allow one at a time. It's either going to be Thurston or Pollock, according to and then they can be in there, but they don't get to ask questions, which I am not at all surprised that that's happening. But yes, and so I do. We will
bless them for sticking it out, and
yeah, I appreciate at least I know that they're trying, and I'm not surprised. So then it's going to take. That means it's going to take another journalist to step up and take that opportunity, because if they are purposely not calling on John Pollock and Brandon Thurston, then somebody in that room with access needs to ask questions like that. It's unacceptable that nobody asked where Shane McMahon was. I do appreciate Sean Ross Sapp at least asking about Stephanie and if she's back in an official role, because once again, she is corporate officer number 3, most likely.
Yeah.
We have to put the alleged. But from reporting that has been done, it appears that she is corporate officer number 3. She is now back on TV. Not regularly, but at pay-per-views, which is interesting. I feel like they're testing the water to see what the reaction is to that. Probably.
Yeah,
maybe she doesn't, but with everything she's been through, maybe she doesn't want an official role again.
I wouldn't.
Especially there's a lawsuit still happening. This lawsuit,
I have no idea how that family.
The lawsuit is on a pause, but the DOJ investigation is still happening, as far as we know.
Yeah, but that's still something that, like, people. I know that it seems like because it takes a long time for the law to work, and that's just the way that is. I think people don't understand the only reason this isn't moving forward, that they're not doing settlement talks and trying to get this like buried, is because the DOJ literally asked them to pause the case because they needed the grand jury to do all of their stuff that they're doing for whatever the crap is coming out. Like,
yes. And now we're in August now, so it has been the month.
It's expensive to keep those people, like BJ was talking about. Like, that's expensive, and it's a long time. That's like a year of these people's lives now,
right? And so August 2023 is when the grand jury, the federal grand jury was subpoenaed, or they had the subpoena. That it's been a year this month.
Jeez.
So could there be indictments coming soon? Very likely. Or do they perhaps ask for an extension? That could be something that happens too. This month is going to be something you want to keep an eye on.
There's a lot going on right now.
So that brings me back to Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon.
I say this as I have long been a Shane McMahon fan. I love Shane McMahon. I have been a huge fan of his since the Mean Street Posse days. Like, been a fan of his coast to coast Shane McMahon. Like, I love that stuff. However,
I tried to fit Shane O'Mac in the title, but it didn't work. So
we do love the Shane O'Mac. So I don't know what this meeting means. Perhaps all it is to get focus on WWE and like maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it could have just maybe been
it's nothing more than a PR stunt.
It's a stunt, maybe. I mean,
but maybe it's a one-off. I could see potentially a one-off happening. They just bring him in, pop a rating, do whatever they're going to do, and then that's it. But of course, the question, first of all, I don't think it's very wise to hire a McMahon with that lawsuit still in play. I don't think that's a wise decision by AEW or Tony Khan,
especially with the DOJ.
No matter whether he is an on-screen character or is just backstage, employing a McMahon in this economy.
Yeah, you said that was a great tweet. I loved that Mike Gilbert elevated that. That was hilarious.
That raises some red flags for me.
Definitely. As it should. As it should for all sensible humans.
The optics don't look great.
No, they look bad.
You don't have this lawsuit. You are the rival company. Why? You are the alternative. If you are the alternative, you do not need to employ a family member of the other company. Like, you do not need a McMahon in your company. And that's not to say anything about Shane's abilities or capabilities or whatever. I just, from somebody who's looking at it from an alternative standpoint, I don't need a McMahon in AEW for any reason. I don't need them to pop the rating. I don't need their backstage expertise, because Shane grew up in a sports entertainment environment. I mean, obviously it switched more to that in the 90s, but He's grown up in that environment. That's what his mindset is. We've seen wrestlers who can't get out of the WWE mindset. Saraya is a huge example of that. She is very much a WWE character. She cannot break
to adapt.
She can't do that. Some wrestlers, it takes them a while to shed that because it's all they've known or it's what they've done for so many years, which I totally get that. So I feel like, and there's a whole thing last year, the stories that were WWE-esque were the ones that fans criticized the most and complained about the most. So bringing in a McMahon who that's what he knows, that's his whole life has been that type of storytelling. I don't know what you can bring to AEW to make it fresh and not be that. And so I feel like just for that reason alone, I don't like the idea of Shane possibly working for them in any capacity.
No, I don't understand. Like, to me, it was a big, like, what? Like, why? And I don't even like it as a publicity stunt because you are, whether you perceive it to be that way or not, Vince and Triple H and all of those guys, they're in a wrestling war with you. So you're kind of the mark in that situation.
So, and I feel so like on the one hand, I can see like from Tony's perspective, probably it's just a petty move that he can do to kind of just like,
but it still makes him look like the mark.
I feel from Tony's point of view, I feel like maybe, and of course I could be way off base.
Yeah.
But I feel like he would be like, ha ha ha, I got Shane McMahon because he hates you and Triple H so much that he came to the rival to pop a rating or to work backstage or be an authority figure on TV, like whatever reason it is. And so I feel like that's how he would view it. But I don't think it would play out. Like, I think it would do more harm than good. And it would do the opposite of whatever Tony is trying to accomplish.
I think it makes Tony look like a mark.
I can see that. And depending
on
how
it has that vibe. It's kind of cringy. I was like seeing everybody talking about it and they're like, oh, I mean, we have, everybody does their like hypothesizing and like fantasy booking and stuff when these things happen. I'm just like, I don't see anything good coming from, and it's really funny because even John Muse was talking about it in one of the things, and he was in the public thing where he was like, nothing good could come of this. I was just like, okay, that's a guy who knows.
I knew, like the jokes were funny. Like, yes, would Shane McMahon jump off of something in Wembley? Sure, that's a funny joke. Shane trying to outdo Darby Allin jumping off of something.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon coming across Christian and Christian having something to say about his father. Like, sure, those things are funny. But are they worth it? I don't
think they are.
And so there are some comments.
It feels like they're selling their soul a little bit. The idea was to have an alternative company, not to integrate with the other one. I mean, you've had plenty of talent from that other company come over and be either mediocre or not.
Well, and I can get that. Like, there's only so many places that wrestlers can work.
Sure.
So that's one thing. But I guess you could say the same for like, where else is Shane McMahon gonna go? Like, if he's staying in wrestling, like, sure. But
I don't know.
Shane McMahon doesn't need to. Like, financially, I think he's good. Like, he doesn't need to. So Brad says that Sean Ross Sapp reported that he asked around about Shane, and he said that many believe Shane will make at least one appearance. But that could just be people assuming that's why the picture was leaked, which, I mean, perhaps, but what do you do? Where do you do it? What is the payoff? Who are you taking TV time away from?
Yeah, that
was one of my, when that first happened with my Raphael, that's the first thing he asked is, who does he take screen time away from to be on TV?
They have a lot of people on their roster that matter. It shouldn't be he should be taking time from anybody on that roster.
Right. And so Daza says Shane McMahon as a manager and authority figure was fine, but once he started insisting of being as a tough guy and the stars were having to sell him, it pissed me off. Sure. Yeah. He crossed the line in some ways, and he definitely turned into a bit of a McMahon, and ego got in the way, and he was reportedly treating people badly, which is inappropriate, and I don't want to see that happen in an AEW locker room. Yes, Vinkin, I did see this. So I watched the Mercedes video where she talks about how she got Her divorce is now final. As the day after the video premiered, her divorce was finalized, and she was married to a guy who he works for WWE as a gear designer. They separated in December of 2020, divorced in January 2021. It's when she was doing stuff with Carmella for WrestleMania. And she said Vince was obsessed with her and Reggie, which Reggie was Carmella's sommelier. He wanted Mercedes Sasha and Reggie together. And because of Vince's behavior in the past of trying to force people together as a real life couple, she and her then husband decided to hide the fact that they were getting a divorce because they did not want Vince McMahon to know about it.
Involved.
Do you know how insane that is?
That's crazy.
You have to hide that because you are afraid that your boss is going to put you in a relationship you don't want to be in.
It's going to literally intervene in a way that like alters the course of both of your lives. Like,
and
divorce is effed up.
This is not a far-fetched thing. He has done this for decades.
I know.
He has quit pushing people because he believes that the prettiest women and the top women should be with the top men. He tried to break up CM Punk and Maria because he felt that Maria was too attractive for CM Punk and she should have been available for the top guys. He did it in the 80s. I can't remember the wrestlers off the top of my head, but there was a couple and he tried to separate them and they went and got married. So he quit using the woman. Vince quit pushing her because she married that wrestler.
There was one I can't remember now, but Herb Muchnick in Wrestling Babylon, he talked about how, or maybe it was one of Dave's books, but one of the two of them were talking about how Vince was like, he like did that so much that like a person like booked their own divorce, basically, is what he was saying. And I was just like, that's messed up.
And because Lana
2020, it's 2024. And 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
Damn.
That happened with Lana because remember they were doing the storyline with Lana and Dolph Ziggler on TV, and she announced on social media
that was one of them.
Her and Rusev were engaged, and
that was a newer version,
and he quit pushing Rusev, and he was mad at Lana for that. He like this isn't so. Mercedes was correct to do what she did, to hide that, because
that's messed up.
That is not, that's insane, but that's it's true.
Another level messed up.
Yes. And here we go that, Mercedes revealed that she was afraid that Vince would take away her WrestleMania 37 main event spot if the separation made its way to the public, and Bianca and Mercedes would not have happened. Right.
Correct.
And going back to Shane, that USVA guys has never underestimate the desperation of Tony Khan. He'll do anything to save his sports and to save his sports entertainment monstrosity. Fair. I don't want to see. And then there was another comment here about avoiding Shane bringing into being an AEW because it could completely kill the notion of being a true alternative. Certainly. That is definitely something that's been brought up. And also the fact that, where was the other one? Yeah, Daza asked this. Is there also not a chance that Vince could be, or Shane that could be called as a witness if Vince goes to trial? Just speculating. Yeah.
You know what? That's entirely possible.
Indicted. A lot of people can get subpoenaed, and I would think family members would be high on that list. And that's another reason. Like that was my whole thing was like, just even beyond the alternative, like all those reasons to bring Shane McMahon in, his father.
I would subpoena him because he would have helped me establish
the DOJ, a DOJ indictment. Then once that's over, he still has the lawsuit to defend to deal with. Putting a McMahon in this company is just bad optics. Like it's just not. It doesn't make sense. It's not. To me, it is not worth whatever payoff you think you were going to get from him being there. Yes, there we go. Daza, I thought it was Sam Houston. That it happened in WWF or outside of WWF. The boys were against Sam Houston and Baby Doll being a real couple. Yes, that was another story that I had heard as well.
That's the one I think I was talking about.
And he said, wasn't that something like that with Jackie Gata when she went Tough Enough where they were annoyed her boyfriend was not an athlete or not worthy of her? Yes, there was some stuff with her too. So yeah, it's a big.
That's any of your freaking business in the first place,
right? There's
personal
so many
relationships in there. You're like,
inappropriate.
can you imagine if your boss got involved in your personal relationships
and told you who you told you your person is not attractive enough for you.
They're not cute enough, and they're not good enough, and they don't make enough money for you. So you need to date somebody else. And if you don't, I'm gonna actively try to break you up.
Right?
What?
That's insanity.
Get a life.
Based on everything else, and that's just been based on everything else we know. And again, we keep talking. This is just what we know.
Patterns of behavior.
Yeah, patterns of behavior. But these are things we know.
That's why I would call Shane. That's because you're establishing patterns of behavior. I would definitely subpoena his family. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And the people that work around there and
I would keep as much as I have been a fan of Shane for a very long time. I would keep Shane McMahon far away.
I don't feel that about it myself, but that's me.
I would keep him away from that. And so the other big story this week came out Thursday. We learned that Britt Baker has been suspended by AEW. There was an argument with her and MJF. The timing, there were some questions about the timing, but I believe the timing, it appears to be that it was prior to MJF's match with Will Ospreay on Dynamite 250 that this happened. And from the reports that have come out, so before I get to that part, MJF and Britt used to be really close because they've been with AEW since day one.
Right.
Sometime last year, had a falling out over something. We don't know what. So there's that bit of background leading into what happened from what we know so far. And there may have been updates since then. I haven't seen any. I think this was like the last I have seen. So the information that was last out is that the word internally was that Baker exercised frustration about MJF within the women's locker room. MJF's girlfriend is Alicia, who is the new backstage announcer. She heard it. Whatever was said, she felt like MJF needed to know about. MJF was brought to the women's locker room. From what was reported later, he did not barge into the locker room. A number of people said that he knocked and they allowed him into the locker room.
That's what I heard.
It wasn't like him just barging in. Women possibly half clothed, any of that type of stuff. The women who were in the locker room were aware that MJF wanted to come in. They allowed him to come in. This is where but then the clarification is that the argument between him and Baker did not happen there. And at some point, MJF reportedly punched a wall. Since he was not suspended, it sounds like it was after the fact and maybe after he had left the locker room, maybe back in the men's locker room, he was irritated and punched a wall, had to have his hand wrapped up more than usual before his match. I know
that he went to HR about the situation as well.
Yes, HR did get involved. There were multiple witnesses because it happened. It happened in the women's locker room, both the part with MJF and Britt. I'm sorry, I take that back. They said that they don't know if the argument did not happen in the locker room, according to Sean Ross.
I heard that it took place with like other people present.
But other people were present. But the locker room part with Britt, where Alicia heard it, that happened in the women's locker room. So there are witnesses to that. Apparently, Alicia and Britt exchanged words, which had witnesses, and Alicia left, told MJF, so there's that. And then whatever was said was deemed worthy of a suspension for Britt Baker. I have heard a rumor of what was said. I don't know if it is correct. However, if that is what is said, I can understand why that probably led to a suspension, because it was
You'll have to tell me off air. I didn't hear that.
It is a very inappropriate thing that was said. And so let me make sure if there's anything else. I think that was the main thing. Is that so it happened.
A lot of the reasons that not just this incident, but because Britt has had a pattern of doing these things, was that they finally had to
step in.
They've got a situation. I read this week and I didn't really think about it, but someone was talking about the fact that they've been keeping Thunder Rosa and Britt on separate shows. And I was like, geez, like if she's that big of a like problem, I mean, maybe this is the best thing for her right now.
Yeah, and on top of that, like I don't want to blame it on that. She also, it has come out that she and Adam Cole split earlier this year.
I heard that also.
And so that may be playing into some of her behavior. However, this is clearly not the first time we've heard about it. We know very well aware of the things that happened with her and Thunder Rosa. It got very bad to the point where Thunder Rosa, on top of being injured, the bullying was so bad that she considered taking her own life. So that is something.
And she's been very open about her mental issues.
Yes.
So it wasn't as if that was like an unknown quantity for Britt Baker. She just
well, and then
she's like a very you know these people, right? They're the people that are like, I've done all these great things and I'm this amazing thing, and you guys are just like, you can't live up to me. Like, so she's like a high functioning type, and that makes her ego probably, I mean,
well, like on the one hand, like Andrew Zarian made a really good comment that like a lot of the top athletes in any sport are very protective of their spots. And Britt was the face of that women's division for a long time. Unfortunately got injured, went and took care of that. She comes back. She's not the number one woman in the division. The division has changed a lot without her. It has gotten very hard hitting. And again, she's had some hard hitting matches, but the style has changed. The women who are at the top have changed, promo styles, like a lot has changed in that division. So I can see how like maybe she wants to assert herself in the locker room as still being this locker room leader or this pillar of the women's division type of thing. And maybe she thinks because she does have a great relationship with Tony Khan and also Tony Schiavone, perhaps she thought that built in some security for her, when now she's finding out I could be replaced.
Well, and moreover, it's like you have to actually, like, at the end of the day, you're a professional. It's in the name. It's the first part of the title. You're a professional wrestler. You're a professional dentist, for that matter. You are a doctor. Like, well, you're a dentist, but
right, but still,
professionalism. I think, but it speaks to how she treats people and the way that she acts and the way that, and the things that she thinks that she's entitled to. And I mean, see, the problem is that there have been rumors about Britt being a problem in the locker room, and there have been issues. And there was the one girl that was there and complained later, and then everyone tried to take her down, even though it was her.
Yeah, it was Lufisto, because
Lufisto, that's it.
Daza asked who that was, and it was Ruby Soho is who she had the issue with.
Okay. So I just,
and again, and
I
then
mean,
they all came,
Jeff
but
Hawkins,
they all
like totally.
But if you remember, all the women came out and supported Ruby and iced out Lufisto and said that Lufisto was wrong. And again, at the time we said the same thing. Ruby Soho could be great. She could be wonderful, but that doesn't negate the fact that Lufisto may have had this incident with her, and that is not how their situation went. That doesn't mean both things can be true. And so, but one of those people who came out, because that tweet got brought back up, was MJF stood up for that locker room and said AEW has a great women's locker room. And then this happens, which of course, you can't just, in hindsight, that tweet is very interesting.
That's very interesting. But I mean, a lot of what I was hearing was that this has been a problem for a long time, and I think they finally felt like, you can't keep doing this. We love you, but you can't keep doing this. And Tony had to be a boss.
And she was she was last on the Blood and Guts show. So it sounds like the suspension just started. Like, so she wasn't on this week, and I assume she won't be on next week's programming.
Right.
And then she'll be back. She is, as of now, still she's still scheduled to wrestle Thunder Rosa. Not Thunder Rosa, I'm sorry. Mercedes Moné at All In.
And
it seems like, from what we heard There's no heat on MJF. MJF did the right thing by going to HR.
Well, that is the right thing to do. I mean,
apparently. And so, so that's apparently that's the information we have as of right now. So it appears, you and I talked about it before. Somebody brought it up in the comments, on the TV show that they had.
Yep.
Britt was very combative. She constantly talked shit about Thunder Rosa, things like that. And you and I were like,
how much literally told her to let it go at one point.
He did. And Nikki brought that up too. And so we talked about how much of this is because obviously promos like TV shows like this, they play up drama because they want it. So we were like, how much of this is they're playing it up for the show, and how much of this is really how Britt Baker acts? And it appears that it's more real life than reality show, based on just the outside looking in at the information we have in front of us. Of course, I think people
were worried that her and Mercedes were going to clash because of the level that they're both at. I mean, anyway. And so I'm sure that there's a little of that, although just save it for the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're good. Go talk to a therapist. Go.
Right.
You just don't unload in the lot. You don't. Nothing good has ever come of gossiping in a locker room. I'm here to. I lived in locker rooms from the time I was 9 years old until college. Soccer took up most of my life, for a long time. Right. Nothing good ever came of bullshit talk in the fucking locker room.
Right.
And if you're going to be a leader, then you need to act like one. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean pissing and moaning about something. I mean, again, I don't know what she said. You can tell me off air, but I don't know exactly what she said.
Yeah, and there was apparently some of the rumors too were related about. I guess she was a little irritated that Ospreay and MJF were gonna get an hour.
I knew that was part of it.
It was gonna cut into her return to TV. Mm-hmm. That apparently allegedly had something to do with it. Then
I heard that little
and then there was something else that I heard. I don't know how accurate it is, so I don't want to repeat it.
That's why I said you can tell me later.
I don't want to spread it. I don't want to spread anything. I don't know for sure. And again, that comment could just be speculation of because that's what we were trying to figure out in the beginning before we knew a little bit more, was what did she say to warrant a suspension versus a warning, a fine?
It must have. I mean, she must have gone too far this time.
What did she say and or do? Did she try to get physical with somebody? We have not heard that. So it appears that it's just whatever she said. Or they're saying now we're hearing maybe it's a combination of things that she has done some problematic things, and finally they were just like, you know what? We've warned you plenty of times. Now we're moving to a suspension. It could be that. Maybe it's just we've warned you. Now we're suspending you because the warnings aren't working, which might be. So maybe that's in fact what it was, not specifically something she said, but her overall behavior led to
the whole package.
Right, we've tried this. We're suspending you. Because
we have to put our foot down.
We are not getting through to you, which could be the situation. So it appears that she'll be back the week after next, still in time for her match at All In with Mercedes Moné for both titles, right? I believe both titles are on the line, both the strong.
Yes,
I think
they are both going for their title for title. Yeah,
and it also appears that it's not going to main event.
I wouldn't imagine it.
And I said a few weeks ago that I thought they were going to double main event it and still have the men close, and because of what they're doing with Danielson, the men are going to close.
Yeah,
whether it's a double main or not, which is really unfortunate because Tony and Mariah have earned a main event spot.
They really have.
And last night, whenever you get to watch Collision, they added to the story, and it was really great. They're just doing a phenomenal job with this story, and I really get it. It's Danielson and what that means, and Swerve is incredible too. And I get it. I get why that match is probably closing the show, but it's really hard to argue against giving Tony and Mariah that spot, especially because it's in Mariah's hometown. She's from London. They've told this story. They have earned a main event spot. But of course, Danielson is in a now title versus career match, which you can't not have that close the show. So it's unfortunate the women keep getting.
I mean, you've got the career thing and the belt, the championship belt as the thing. So it's you almost. I mean, come on, of course they're gonna close the show.
Yeah, Daza said to get a guy like MJF with broad shoulders riled up to the extent it must have been something big. That's. I mean, you really.
I mean, believe me, I understand. When people punch wall, I've witnessed wall punching by gentlemen here and there in my life.
Sometimes it is out of frustration. It sounds like it was done away from.
Yeah, usually that's what I find.
It was not done in. It was not done in intimidation.
No, it's
we want to make that clear.
It's just in my mind because again, I have male friends and family.
Right. Yeah.
And they do the thing where they walk away somewhere and they're so mad that they just bash whatever they're standing by.
Yeah.
Men are they get so primal. Women do this. We do it too in our own way. We just don't punch things. We
generally not. Yeah.
Eat things or cry or throw a hissy. We don't go quick, but that's their version of kind of crying a lot is punching something.
Oh no, Daza said he meant more if he felt enough to go to HR. Right.
But see, he did the right thing. That's my problem. This is the whole thing is if Britt has a problem, she needs to take it to the top, not be gossiping about it in the locker room. That's unprofessional. It's you're saying that you want to be a locker room leader, but you don't lead by gossiping.
Well, but then there were some other people saying that Alicia should have kept it in the women's locker room and should not have gone. But we don't know what was said. Whatever was said felt like MJF. If she felt like MJF needed to know what was said, then perhaps that's why she did that.
I mean, maybe usually, you wouldn't do that like that.
No, right. Typically, that's something that would stay in the locker room.
Talk stays in the locker room usually,
generally.
No matter what.
If depending, maybe
that's all
who
sports.
Knows? Who knows? We don't know the exact situation, but that's what made me wonder. Well, did she say something where Alicia felt like I have to tell him what she said?
Right.
Type of thing, instead of going to HR myself or just leaving it alone and just letting her be mad about it or whatever.
It seems like if it was something petty, he wouldn't have had such a reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? He seems smarter than to have that level of reaction to something petty locker room bullshit talk.
Right.
Max has a big ass or...
right. And so... very interesting that, it is
really interesting because it's her.
Yeah. So,
so that was, you know what? Maybe she'll learn something.
Maybe so. Maybe the 2 weeks off will do her some good. Maybe it was, maybe it'll be something like, you know what? I needed these 2 weeks off to just kind of decompress for a second, kind of deal with the outside personal issues I'm dealing with, and
go
just
talk to a counselor who deals with
hopefully
it's easier than ever, and because the old people are into it now, the stigma is going away, so go do it. It's fine.
And from what AEW, I didn't listen to that AEW Unrestricted, but a couple of months ago there was a thing on there and they were talking to the people who are there. There are mental health people professionals available within AEW. They could go, it is available to their talent and their employees. So that is something that is available to them. Of course they don't have to do it within their job. They can, if they have, maybe they have a third, but it is something that's available to them. Should they need it, from that interview, from what I heard. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that happened. The timing was not great because it was leading into SummerSlam and you're already, the timing wasn't great, but it is what it is. Hopefully everybody learns from it, and hopefully, we can make some better decisions moving forward. And then really quick, I do want to bring up Athena really quickly. So Athena did something very historic. On Wednesday, she reached 600 days as ROH Women's Champion. Longest reigning women's champion of all of ROH. She is now, at the time, she was 46 days away from breaking Samoa Joe's record of being ROH World Champion. That's the record she is trying to break now. She's already surpassed. When he was TV champion, he was TV champion for 547 days. She's already passed that one. So now her next goal is becoming the longest reigning world champion of all time, man or woman.
Awesome.
And AEW didn't talk about it at all. Not one word.
No, I wouldn't have known if I wasn't co-host to a massive ROH. One of the 12 people that watch ROH.
Yeah.
Thank gosh.
She ROH did not tweet it out. They didn't. No graphic from ROH. No tweet. Nothing on Instagram. I went to make sure I didn't. I was like, well, maybe I just missed it on Twitter. Nope.
That seems like a total miss on your PR department is over here dealing with all these. You're doing Shane McMahon photos, but you're not working out. That's a huge.
You don't have that ready to
focus on that, and not
you don't. Your social media person doesn't have a graphic ready to go, waiting in the drafts for that.
They should be blasting people with that, and they should be like, "See her break the record. Sign up today." Why are you not?
Mm-hmm.
Sam, why do people leave money on the table?
I don't know.
Why?
AEW.
I need money. I can take it if they want to give it to me.
AEW did not tweet anything. When Jade surpassed 500 days as TBS champion, she got the graphic, which she rightfully should.
Good.
She got a graphic. Nothing mentioned on the broadcast. Your current ROH World Champion, Mark Briscoe, wrestled on that show. They didn't say, hey, but Mark, last Friday night at Death Before Dishonor, Mark Briscoe retained his title. And by the way, so did Women's World Champion Athena. She retained her title on Friday, and now today, Wednesday, she has made it to 600 days as champion. That's the first time that's ever happened. No mention.
They just don't take ROH seriously.
Again,
and she wrestled for it. Jade kind of had squash matches for it. Athena's wrestled for it.
Right. Yes, she has. We've talked many times about how she has overhauled that division. She is the anchor of the division. She is the anchor of ROH. She is the true star of
ROH. Not a lot on AEW.
Now, and apparently Red Velvet's not either.
Oh yeah, okay.
We never saw Billy Starks on TV either. We saw Athena one time back in April when she defended the title on Battle of the Belts. And so many tweets for Athena is on AEW programming. I'm gonna watch Battle of the Belts now. Athena is a draw. AEW fans want to see her, and you won't put her on TV. And so
I don't think he wants that as complication.
Then even on top of that, AEW retweets their wrestlers constantly. They didn't even bother retweeting Athena's tweet. Athena had her own tweet about being champion for 600 days. But pictures, AEW didn't retweet it. ROH didn't retweet it. She's doing the work for you, and you can't hit a little button to repost that.
You're wishing Nyla Rose a happy birthday.
The birthdays are preset. Today, Mariah May's birthday is today. Dean Malenko's birthday is today. I saw graphics for both of them. Which so the birthday graphics.
Wow, that's a missed opportunity.
They clearly have the birthdays preset, which fine, but you retweet every other thing they say, but you can't retweet your champion doing something historic.
Huge.
Yeah, Kwame points out that Alba Fire had a 649-day reign as NXT UK Women's Champion because that is the former Kaylee Ray. She's now Alba Fire. But yes, she was champion for 649 days. Asuka was NXT Women's Champion for over 500 days. Athena has surpassed that. I know we're in different companies, but just as far as women in general holding titles like that, like these are big deals. And Kwame even says Athena will not only break Samoa Joe's record of 645 days in September, but also the longest single title reign of any modern day WWE/AEW star that's currently held by Kaylee Ray, Alba Fire. Like,
oh, okay, yeah,
yes,
wow,
and yeah, it's very unfortunate. It is super disrespectful. They disrespect her constantly by not putting her on TV when ROH titles are defended on AEW programming. They get their champions, even if they're not being defended. Mark Briscoe is on there all the time. Kyle Fletcher was on there all the time when he was the champion. Samoa Joe, all the stuff that Athena and Billy Starks were not allowed. And even if they're using as we want ROH to be on, we're trying to sell ROH to TV. So we're using Athena as the champion to sell that. You can do both. You can use her in ROH, but you can also highlight her and put her on AEW television and be like, this is the ROH women's champion. Look at what she does. Look at how amazing she is. Look at how hard she hits. Look at the promos that she has. This is her. This is Billy Starks. This is who her protege is. This is who she's been working with. Billy Starks is no longer the champion. Red Velvet is now of the women's TV champion. Put Red Velvet on TV. Like, you can do, and I know it's only been a week, like as far as the Red Velvet being the champion, and there's still time, and they're in Arlington. But Collision's right there. They've been doing it. Collision and ROH are filmed together, whether it's in Arlington or whatever city they're in. You can have, like, it's not like Athena can't, you can have Athena travel. Like, if she's already there for ROH, why not have her be on Collision? They do it with Undisputed Kingdom all the time.
All the time.
Their Undisputed Kingdom is on, they're on both.
Even the infantry has been on both.
Yeah, right.
They've started highlighting the infantry has been on like Collision and stuff a bunch of times over the last.
And now they have
months.
a new member. Layla Gray is now a flight attendant, and they use her.
Hilarious.
So I guess because I think Top Flight has her as an attendant because it was funny because Darius posted a tweet. No, it was Dante, and he had tweeted like back in 2021 that like, if the infantry had a woman, why couldn't they have a flight attendant? And he was like, and so now he tweeted the other day about, and so I guess because the infantry has Trisha Dora, they're like, oh, the Top Flight has Action Andretti, so we need a woman. We need to, and Layla Gray needs something to do. Which, listen, if you're gonna
actually, that's kind of funny.
So then I was joking the other day and I was like, okay, but they have Action Andretti. So is the infantry going to add another male wrestler to even it up? But yes, I don't know. I'm just very tired of the Athena disrespect. And that really bothers me that they did not take, because what Athena has accomplished is incredible. Like somebody made a graphic for her and she posted it to both of her social media, her Twitter and her Instagram. And it was like, it said 600 days as a picture of Athena. And then it has every woman she has beaten. And some of them she has wrestled twice. And like, but it was an entire graphic. And I'm like, they did the work for you.
Like, wow.
You can't
really just.
So it's very.
That's a gross missed opportunity right there.
Mm-hmm. It just goes, and I obviously will give credit where credit is due. They have done a really good job with the AEW's women's division, especially the last 6 months or so. But but this goes back to, it just feels like some of the old stuff where we're constantly having to remind them, hey, your women's wrestlers are doing this shit. We want to see wrestling. We are women's wrestling. We want to see it. We want to see it. And then you do this with Athena, and she's doing incredible work, and you can't take 2 seconds to retweet her. You can't have a graphic ready to go. Hopefully they've got a graphic
for getting subscribers. I don't get the that's a total
have a graphic ready for when she surpasses Samoa Joe.
That's just a missed opportunity for getting subscriptions. And you sell it. This is our champion, and she's breaking this record, and you can only see it on ROH TV.
Right. And so that's what you should,
That's
you should be like, hey, when it gets closer, I don't know. I haven't looked at the date to see what 646 days will be. But like, that's something you should promote. Athena's getting ready to break Samoa Joe's record. You should subscribe to ROH to see her break
Correct. Exactly. They should be selling the crap out of that.
And if you're not selling it, you've got it's September. You've got a few weeks.
He's got too much. I think
you've got like 43-ish days, 42, 43 days, something like that. Get a graphic ready.
You can't
for when she
the
breaks
media
that
rights
record.
deal and booking at the same time. Then would you please let someone else do it for a little while?
But they have a social media team. Like, why is the social media? I know
you should have an advertising team too.
I know you got a content calendar. You better have on that calendar. Post this graphic.
We have an internal advertising department in marketing, and that's part of marketing and advertising. So that should have been like,
yeah,
you should be selling.
Yes. So now the next time she appears on Honor Club, I know
of the Alec Baldwin's character in Glenn Gurgan Ross. Always be selling. Always be closing.
I don't know why she's in hot water when he's the one Tony is very closely involved in the story with Athena and Lexi Nair and Billy Starks. He's been very vocal and talking about how they've worked together. The three of them or the four of them. It's technically the three of them, and sometimes Lexi throws in her point of view, but Tony has been he's said that on media calls and things like that, so I'm not sure what may or may not have happened, but he has been right there. He's been very hands-on in this storyline in the way that he's been very hands-on with Tony and Mariah, so that's really interesting if that's the case, because he's been right there with them. Brad says it feels like ROH is still a different company, and they have a working relationship with AEW, and that use Mark Briscoe instead of just being in the same company and owner. Yeah, they do. The Tiger Driver spot that Queen Amidala does was amazing. So I don't know what he's crying about, because that spot was incredible. It was great. That whole match was great. Go out of your way if you subscribe to Honor Club. Or you want to subscribe to Honor Club, I will sell the match for you. Go watch Death Before Dishonor. This whole show was great. Yeah, go watch Athena. Go watch Athena versus Queen Aminata in the penultimate match before the main event, because it was really good.
That sounds good.
It's really good.
All right.
But yeah. So we got all our topics, and yeah, I think we covered. And again, thank you to our guests today. That was so awesome of them to come on and to be a part. And make sure that you go search the false finish of Thee Spyder and check that out. Also, if you are a WWE fan and you missed it, go check out The Wrap. The Wrap did a live show. They live streamed after SummerSlam last night. I'm sure they had some thoughts.
I know you're here.
I heard that. So like, it was funny because my timeline, a lot of the timeline did not like
there it is.
Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. They felt like it was a Raw match, like that they did too much. And then John LaRocca gave it 4 stars, and Garrett responded and was like, I didn't like it. So like, it was
that's gonna be a spicy fight game podcast this week.
Yeah, I saw more people who didn't like the match because they were like, you built it up, and then that's what you did. And then but then I see like there were a few positive things, and John LaRocca's like 4 stars, and I was like, oh my god. So
that's gonna be a fun. I have to check that one out.
Yeah.
I like listening to them go after it. It's fun.
Yeah, so I'm sure Keela and Scott had some thoughts, and like I said, I know like they did do the Liv and Dom, like Dom turned on Rhea last night. They did do that. Finn Balor turned on Damian Priest. I know that happened. There was what else? Obviously that Roman Reigns returned as expected. Jon Moxley did not return. Dean Ambrose did not come back last night.
To the surprise of nobody on this podcast.
Bryan Danielson did not come back last night. AJ Lee did not come back last night.
People get these ideas in their head, and I swear they work themselves straight into a shoot about them. It's like, you're like, brother, no one ever said that was going to happen. Get out of your own head.
Yeah. Scott said it today. It's basically who wants the bracelet more.
Yikes.
Right. Yes. And that Rhea.
I love when Salty Scott gets even saltier because he's very fun.
I do want to point this out because Brad said Dave gave Layla versus Diamante 4 3/4 stars and called it one of the best women's matches of the year. Yes.
He did say that. He did give them credit.
Did see that. You know, I don't really care about star ratings, but I appreciate that Dave did that, especially
he also talked
because he doesn't seem to. Sometimes the women's matches don't seem to get the higher ratings in some cases with him. So
he talked up the hardcore match too. Actually, I was actually shocked because he already doesn't like hardcore matches really, and I mean I get it, but he actually said that they did a really good job with all of their spots and that they were like. He's like, they weren't just using tacks to use tacks. And he was actually talking. I was like, are you feeling okay? I was like, am I listening to the right podcast? Like, usually he just like passes it over or says it was shitty and that's it. But he actually said that not only did he like it, but he like put it over. So that's 2 matches, women's match. I think maybe that's the harder hitting style because that's what it harkens back to. Maybe he's finally getting a little of that. It's catching his attention now.
Yeah, but I would agree. Layla versus Dynamite, Diamante was Dynamite.
Yeah,
it was the match. I talked about it last week. That match was great. Again, for $9.99, you can watch that match, and you can watch Queen Aminata versus Athena. That match was like the whole. So again, like the whole show was great. All the women's matches were really good. I thought Billy and Red Velvet did a great job. Enjoyed that match. Beast Mortos and Commander were the first match of the night.
That's right.
That was awesome. Like there was really good stuff there. So I would highly recommend it if you have an additional $10 to spare. If they do TV, it'll be interesting again. Their big test, like I said, is like the last time. The TV fell off between Supercard and Death Before Dishonor. They can't do that again this year. Or this time around. They've got to build up. And I'm hoping because they are in Arlington, they did do tapings last Sunday. They did a 1 o'clock and a 6 o'clock. And the first episode that they did last week, which is episode 75, they did Anthony Henry versus Wheeler Yuta.
Oh,
fantastic. It was excellent match.
That sounds awesome. I'm into that.
Yeah, it was so good. And I said before, while JD Drake is out, we don't know how long Workhorsemen are not going to be together. Put Anthony Henry in the pure division.
Singles.
Listen to me. Put him in the pure division. It's
a perfect place for him. He's not going to it's all technical and stuff. So it limits his risk of injury.
He
knows
good.
What he's doing.
Wow. He kicks if you think Kyle O'Reilly kicks hard, and he does.
He does.
Anthony kicks just as hard, not harder. I have seen him kick so many people.
Me too, actually, because he was on a lot of Evolve shows. He
kicks very, very hard.
He was very regular.
I hope he gets a match with Lee Moriarty. Yeah, the Beef stuff. I'm not super familiar with Beef. He's been on ROH programming, I think, one other time. He was brought in as Anthony Henry's cousin. I don't believe they're shoot cousins. I believe this might be like the Bear cousins. Like that type of I think that's where it is. But Beef was a lot of fun with that. I'm interested to see kind of where they go with that. But Anthony Henry is an incredible tag team wrestler. He's great at doing multi-mans, but give him some singles, Sean, because if you watched it, you saw what he did to Wheeler Yuta's chest. They had an incredible match. It was so good. But because Lee Moriarty is champion, I really want to see Lee versus Anthony because that match is going to be. I want Anthony versus Shibata. We've seen a little taste of that and tag team. Yeah. I want to see it in singles because I think that match is going to be incredible.
That would be a great singles match.
Yeah. I would like it if somebody is listening who could book that for me, just for me. Please book it for me. But yes, but yeah, so I did not mean to keep going off track.
No, you're good. You're good.
I gotta go to dinner with my dad and my grandma and Nikki. So
Sam has fam.
They're like, stop talking about wrestling.
Shut up and get over here. We want to eat.
But yes, please make sure that you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Mel will get those pictures up that she was sent. We will tweet out the link again for the documentary. I will also remind you to download the PBS app if you're
two documentaries, folks. Two of them.
Yes, two of them.
Well, I know one's great, and I feel like the other one's going to be great just based on the people that made it.
Right, and they're having their big on the 6th. They're having their showing up in Raleigh, and I saw last night CW Anderson is going to be part of it. They've got a moderator. Ooh. Should be fun. Hopefully, I've heard we're expecting some really bad weather this week because of the tropical storm / hurricane. It's supposed to be bringing heavy rain to us. I hope that they'll be able to. They're like flooding type rain is what they're expecting. So hopefully that doesn't disrupt what they're trying to do. But regardless, download the PBS app. Make sure that you watch it Thursday at 11 o'clock when Giants walked here. If you're here in the state of North Carolina, watch it on your local PBS at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And so we'll make sure we put all that out. Nikki said that she is ready for her birthday dinner, her late birthday dinner, because we have not gone to our birthday dinner with our dad yet because things kept coming up. And she tells me to shush. So on that
late birthday dinner, and you guys enjoy yourselves, and everyone have a wonderful Sunday.
Yes, and we will be back next week. Thanks, David.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for always being here. We really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.